From a blind date came a sister who is a CEO. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 951. Target discovered. He didn't dare to drug Bei Bingbing in the hotel again. It would be troublesome to drug Bei Bingbing in that man's territory. It would be difficult to succeed. Fortunately, he soon found a new breakthrough, which was Ying, Bei Bingbing's assistant. He didn't believe that every girl was as ungrateful as Ning Yuling. Sure enough, Ying was tempted by his words. At this time, Director Ma was also secretly laughing at Ying. This silly girl, I will go abroad after getting the money. You are also the second female lead. This is just a blank check. You can't even get a small role. Thinking of this, Director Ma couldn't help laughing. He didn't have any psychological pressure for this kind of thing. There must be something hateful about pitiful people who made you unable to resist temptation. You can't blame yourself. Will we get into trouble if we do this? Will the police come? But I drugged Bingbing. Ying suddenly became worried. Just now, she was also hot-headed. Her mind was full of the second female lead. She didn't think of so many things. Now she is calmer and suddenly feels a little nervous. Don't worry, the medicine I gave you is mainly alcohol, and the other ingredients evaporate very quickly. It's just drunkenness after the test. Isn't it normal for a man and a woman to have sex after drinking? What's the big deal? The police can't care so much. Director Ma was not worried about this at all. It was not the first time he did this. Even if an ignorant girl sued him, there was no substantial evidence. Besides, which girl would really dare to sue? They were afraid that this matter would be known and their reputation would be ruined. What is the relationship between Su Weifeng and Bingbing? Are they familiar with each other? Director Ma suddenly asked. His only worry now was this man. After all, he was a rich man with money and power. If he knew about this and found trouble with him afterwards, it would be a bit troublesome. Su Weifeng and Bingbing met last night. They just took our car. They were not very familiar with each other. Ying said simply, but did not mention the kidnapping. After all, it was not a good thing. Moreover, Director Ma was not a good person. Try to have less contact with him. This matter was just a transaction. Is that so? Director Ma's mouth opened, so he felt relieved. They had only met once. Even if this man was interested in Bingbing, he would not fight to the death with him for a woman he had only met once. It was easy to reconcile. Suddenly, Director Ma's face became ferocious again. You stinky bitch. You brought a man you just met to the cocktail party as a male companion. Whatever happened after the cocktail party would be a matter of course. You usually look very noble and keep strangers away, but it turns out you are a slut. You ignored me. I will let you see how powerful I'm in a while. Finally, Director Ma's car could see the highway exit and they would leave Yangcheng soon. After leaving here, they would let Ying drive, and then, Director Ma couldn't wait any longer. He was going to take a shot in the car first, and then find a hotel to take some close-ups. Thinking of this, Director Ma couldn't close his mouth anymore, and his heartbeat began to accelerate. Suddenly, he found that there seemed to be 3 black SUVs parked at the highway exit. All of them were Mercedes-Benz, and there were 2 sports cars. He couldn't see the brand clearly from a distance, and it seemed that they were waiting for someone. Moreover, several SUVs had blocked most of the entrance to the highway, and only one road could pass. Director Ma's heart suddenly sank, and he had a bad premonition. Could it be that rich man's people? I just got Bei Bingbing out, and he found out in such a short time. But that's not right. Even if he found out, he couldn't have told me in advance that the entrance was blocked, unless he knew my plan in advance, but this was even more impossible. I got Bei Bingbing here through her assistant on a whim, and he couldn't have known it, even if he was very powerful. Director Ma didn't have time to think about it now. He didn't dare to bet whether these people were betting on him. If they were really Su Weifeng's people, his fate would be very miserable. The lobby manager was beaten for half an hour just to beat him up. He didn't know whether he was alive or dead. He was going to play with his woman, and he didn't kill himself. Thinking of this, he gritted his teeth. The Land Rover rushed towards the highway exit with a single step on the accelerator. There was no mention of slowing down. The people in the subs were shocked. They wanted to wait for the car to enter to check. After all, there were still many Land Rovers running on the highway. They were blocking the road just in case. Unexpectedly, the Land Rover broke through the checkpoint and rushed out. After breaking the pole. Director Ma, what happened to you? Ying Ying was shocked by the sudden scene. She realized that her car actually rushed through the highway on the checkpoint. Wouldn't she be caught by the police? It was over. She would be exposed before she even got out. Don't shout, look behind you. Director Ma shouted loudly, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He was not so crazy at ordinary times. In his movies, this was a scene that only top actors could complete. Ying Ying looked back subconsciously. This time, she understood without Director Ma telling her. She saw the lights flashing at the highway exit in the distance. 4 or 5 cars appeared at the same time at this deserted highway exit. Some were off-road vehicles and some were sports cars. With a huge roar and the sound of tires rubbing against the ground, they rushed towards her Land Rover. Ying Ying also knew that things were not going well. She became nervous immediately. Could it be that she was exposed so soon? What should she do? I haven't got the second female role yet. I have worked in vain. She was unwilling to accept this, but she was also very scared. She knew that the only person who could intercept Director Ma's car was in Yangcheng, that is, Su Weifeng. Bei Bingbing didn't know anyone here. Only Xiao Ran was still in the hospital. It definitely couldn't be him. Damn it, he actually ran away. Chase him. This is an opportunity to make friends with Mr. Su. We can't let it go. A young man driving a blue Ferrari said angrily to the radio. Master G, don't worry, we are the closest. It will take some time for others to get here. The biggest credit must be ours. Another young man driving a red supercar said. There were 2 hot girls sitting in his car. The car was filled with the smell of alcohol. It was obvious that he received the news while partying and immediately dropped everything and rushed over. Miss, we have found the off-road vehicle, just got on the highway and is heading. Master G took out his mobile phone and said in the second generation group. He was asking for credit because it was obvious that they found it first. Miss, we are trying our best to catch up and try to force them to stop at the next service area. The young man driving the red supercar also said in the second generation group and sent a location. He couldn't miss this opportunity. This was Mr. Su's business. If he did it well and had a little relationship, his status in the family would be different immediately. If he could get Mr. Su to praise him, then the position of the next head of the family might be his. Chapter 952, Stirring Up Yangcheng. Brother Su, we found the car. It's on the highway. It looks like they want to take Bei Bingbing out of Yangcheng. Now many young people from the family have already chased after them. Xu Lingling hurriedly told Su Weifeng the news. Okay, we'll go too. Su Weifeng sneered. Su Weifeng didn't drive his own car, but Xu Lingling's red Ferrari supercar. His own car was off-road, and its maximum speed was still not as good as the supercar. Xu Lingling and Ning Yuling also got in the car. Su Weifeng originally wanted Ning Yuling to go back first, but Ning Yuling insisted on going, so Su Weifeng didn't insist. With one foot on the accelerator, the red supercar directly reached 100 miles per hour. Su Weifeng couldn't help but secretly praise that the supercar's start was indeed not exaggerated. Xu Lingling watched the surrounding scenery quickly recede, and her heart was full of excitement, which reminded her of the first time she went racing with Brother Su. At that time, Brother Su was pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger, and he didn't show his power until the end. Thinking about that time, Xu Lingling couldn't help but laugh. She believed that this memory was unique to her and Brother Su, and other girls didn't have it. Mr. King, you should hurry up. At this speed, when can we catch up with them? By the time we get there, they will be gone. A white off-road vehicle was speeding on the city road, and its target was also the direction of the highway exit. The man in the co-pilot seat was anxiously saying, Mr. ZHU, if you have the ability, you can drive it. I've driven it at 100, but I can't drive it on this road at all. Can you blame me? I'll be fine. When I get on the highway, I'll show you that my need for speed is not played in vain. Mr. King also said anxiously. The two young masters were having fun in the nightclub and accidentally saw the announcement sent by Xu Lingling and the second generation group. This was also the announcement sent by Su Weifeng. These second generations saw Su Weifeng's announcement as if they saw a wanted order. How dare they delay? They didn't care about the two girls they just picked up. They ran out of the nightclub and drove out as fast as they could, which made the two beauties stomp their feet in anger. The same thing happened in various places in Yangcheng. Yangcheng was crazy tonight. Ordinary people saw that the supercars on the street seemed to go in the same direction. They didn't understand why. They called their friends and found out that this situation was not only happening here, but also in other places in Yangcheng. People couldn't help but panic. More than 100 sports cars stirred up the whole situation in Yangcheng. Who has such great power? People on the internet were discussing it. Director Ma, hurry up, we are going to be caught up, hurry up. Ying Ying's voice was trembling. No more speed, it's already 180 now. Director Ma's voice was also trembling. He was also afraid now. It was not just a problem of being caught up. This speed had completely exceeded the limit he could control. At this speed, if there was a stone or a little negligence, the car would be destroyed and people would die. He had already put all his energy into it, his eyes were wide open, and his arms were shaking. Finally, a supercar passed by, and then another one. Director Ma was ashamed. How could this off-road vehicle and supercar compete in speed? After the two supercars passed by, they began to slow down, deliberately trying to stop Director Ma's Land Rover. Director Ma gritted his teeth and tried to pass from the side. Before he could step on the accelerator, the roar behind him became louder and louder. It was all the sound of supercars. Director Ma was startled and subconsciously looked in the rear view mirror. This glance made his courage to fight just now disappear directly. He saw dense headlights extending to the distance, and there was no end in sight. There must be at least dozens of cars, and they were all supercars. Seeing this, his scalp tingled. How could Su Weifeng have such great power? Even a rich man couldn't do it. It was already amazing to be able to mobilize 10 or 8 cars at a time. This was at least dozens of cars, and there might be more behind. The most important thing was that it had only been a short time, and there was no time to prepare. This was so many that he mobilized so many at will. The thought of such a powerful person trying to deal with him made him terrified. At this time, Director Ma regretted it. Although the money was good, he had to spend it on famous flowers. Ying Ying was petrified. She thought Su Weifeng was just an ordinary rich man who pretended to be rich and had too many companies to remember. He could easily mobilize so many sports cars. It was impossible for ordinary rich people to do that. Even Bei Bingbing's Bei family could not do it. At this time, the Land Rover was surrounded by sports cars in front, behind, left and right. Director Ma couldn't go fast or slow now. He could only bite the bullet and follow these sports cars forward. He didn't know when these supercars would stop. He could only follow subconsciously, but he also knew that when these supercars stopped, it would be time to deal with him. As soon as Su Weifeng got on the highway, his speed immediately increased to 220. Ning Yuling was so scared that she quickly held the handle above her head. Her heart was in her throat. She wanted to ask Brother Su to slow down, but she didn't dare to say it, for fear of affecting Brother Su's driving. At such a high speed, a small negligence would be the end. Xu Lingling, on the other hand, was fine. Her eyes were full of excitement and madness. She was not a girl who followed the rules. She liked these exciting things. However, she had to be more stable as the head of the Xu family. She could no longer play as crazy as before. Today, she found the feeling she had not seen for a long time again. It was so exciting. Soon, Su Weifeng joined the large group of supercars. Looking at the endless supercars in front of him, Su Weifeng couldn't help but laugh. He finally caught up. Su Weifeng's supercar speed gradually slowed down. Following behind these supercars, he maintained a speed of 80 miles per hour. It was really difficult to suppress the supercars at 80 miles per hour, but this was also to better control Director Ma's Land Rover. Miss Xu, you are so amazing. You mobilized so many supercars. Ning Yuling exclaimed. This is not because I'm amazing. I'm just pretending to be powerful. Xu Lingling said with a smile. The fox is taking advantage of the tiger's might. Then who is the tiger? Ning Yuling asked in confusion. Could it be Xu Lingling's father? But even a family can't get so many supercars. The key is that it takes so much energy in such a short time. Isn't it right in front of you? Xu Lingling said with a smile. Ah, Brother Su. Ning Yuling covered her mouth in surprise and said in disbelief. You underestimated your brother Su. Yangcheng is your brother Su's territory. Xu Lingling said proudly. She is also Su Weifeng's girlfriend. The more powerful Su Weifeng is, the happier she is. Ning Yuling looked at Su Weifeng in disbelief. Although she didn't understand what this sentence meant, she knew that Brother Su was very rich and powerful. No matter how big a problem it was for her, Brother Su could solve it with just one phone call. But she didn't expect that Yangcheng was Brother Su's territory. What this meant was terrifying. Don't talk nonsense. You make me sound like a gangster. I'm a decent citizen. Su Weifeng said helplessly. Chapter 953 Plastic Sisterhood. How can the underworld compare with Brother Su? Haha. Xu Lingling said with a smile. Ning Yuling was completely confused and didn't know what was going on, but it was obviously not the time to talk about this. The front sent a message that there is a service area ahead, which is abandoned. The car in front is going to force the Land Rover there. Xu Lingling saw that there was another message in the second generation group and hurried to report to Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng nodded with a smile on his face. Director Ma, good Director Ma, if you don't provoke the people around me, I won't care about you, but since you dare to touch my friends, your end will be miserable. Director Ma is now driving subconsciously. He is a little numb and doesn't dare to think about what will happen to him in a while. The speed of the convoy slowed down a little. Director Ma acted to this change and came back to his senses. He knew they were going to take action. Director Ma saw the marked service area in front, and he knew they must force him to go there. Although he didn't want to go, he had no choice now. Director Ma drove the car to the service area, parked the car, locked the door tightly, and looked at the supercars around him in horror. These supercars were scattered for a distance, surrounding Director Ma's Land Rover from a distance. Su Weifeng, Ning Yuling and Xu Lingling got out of the car and came to the front of Director Ma's car. Hello, Mr. Su. Hello, Brother Su. Hello, Brother Su. Hundreds of people shouted loudly, and there were still many cars that had just driven up behind. The people in the cars also ran down quickly, but they couldn't squeeze to the front. Some stood directly on the roof of the car and greeted Su Weifeng loudly. This scene was grand enough. The gangsters Ning Yuling saw on TV didn't have such a grand show, and she became more curious about Su Weifeng. Director Ma was completely desperate. Who did he offend? As a director, he had the opportunity to meet some big shots over the years, but he had never met anyone with such pomp and circumstance. Su Weifeng also waved to the people around him, so the noise around him gradually subsided. Su Weifeng smiled bitterly in his heart. Why did he feel like a bad person? But the children of these families were giving him face, so he couldn't say anything. Mr. Su, I was wrong. Please forgive me. It was this woman who proposed to exchange my movie role with Bei Bingbing. I was bewildered for a while and was confused. You must forgive me. I didn't touch Miss Bei, not even a hair. Director Ma opened the window a crack, begged with a bitter face, and pushed all the responsibilities to Ying Ying. Director Ma, are you still a human being? It was you who seduced me, and I couldn't resist the temptation, so I helped you. Ying Ying said loudly. She didn't expect Director Ma to change so quickly and sell herself out at the last minute. He is really not a man. A pair of dogs and bitches, neither of them is a good thing. Ning Yuling cursed angrily when she saw their faces. She was no longer afraid of Director Ma. Director Ma was no longer as fierce as before to the young actors. She believed that, as long as Brother Su said a word, Director Ma would kneel down. What a famous director. He did all kinds of dirty things and had no backbone at all. Director Ma's image was getting lower and lower in her heart. Director Ma was no longer angry when he was scolded by Ning Yuling. In his opinion, Ning Yuling was also a person favored by this big shot. Not to mention scolding him, even if he came to beat him, he would not dare to hide. As long as he could escape today's disaster, he would definitely hide from Bei Bingbing and Ning Yuling in the future. The farther away the better. Open the door and let Bei Bingbing out. Su Weifeng said coldly. If you promise me to let me go, I will let her out. Director Ma said nervously. Now Bei Bingbing is his only bargaining chip. Although he knew that he was in danger today, he still wanted to grab this last straw. You don't have a choice. Su Weifeng walked to the back door, grabbed the handle, and pulled it hard. The locked car door was opened by him. Su Weifeng took Bei Bingbing out, poured him an antidote made of mint leaves, and used his true energy to cooperate. Soon Bei Bingbing woke up. Bei Bingbing woke up and saw that she was being held in the arms of a man. She smelled the unique smell of a man. Something suddenly occurred to her mind. She pushed Su Weifeng away and staggered a few steps before she stood firm. Get out of here, you beast. Bei Bingbing screamed in fear. It's me, I'm Su Weifeng. You are safe now. Su Weifeng pulled Bei Bingbing's arm and asked her to look at him. Bei Bingbing was stunned for a moment. Her eyes slowly focused on Su Weifeng's face and finally recognized Su Weifeng. Suddenly, she burst into tears. Su Weifeng gently hugged Bei Bingbing. She knew that the girl must be scared. After crying for a while, Bei Bingbing felt less scared. She realized that she was still in Su Weifeng's arms. Her face suddenly felt hot, and she quickly stepped back. Brother Su, what's going on? Bei Bingbing noticed the surroundings. Hundreds of supercars surrounded her, and behind her was Director Ma's Land Rover. Was he filming a movie? You were knocked unconscious and taken away. Fortunately, Brother Su found out in time and blocked Director Ma's car. Otherwise, you would have entered the AV industry in the future. Xu Lingling said jokingly with a smile. Bei Bingbing still remembered what happened just now. She immediately figured out what was going on and looked at Yingying in the car angrily. Yingying, I treat you as a good sister, but you helped Director Ma to drug me. Is this how you treat me? Bei Bingbing said to Yingying angrily, tears falling from her eyes. Being betrayed by the person you trust the most, your heart is broken. Bei Bingbing's mind flashed through pictures of two little girls going to school together, shopping together, and traveling together. It was herself and Yingying. She had thought that the two of them would be good friends for life, but she didn't expect that this best friend would betray her. Bei Bingbing could no longer control herself and squatted on the ground with her head buried in her knees and burst into tears. Yingying got out of the car with some fear and kept apologizing to Bei Bingbing, but she knew that she couldn't bear the consequences of her momentary greed, and the two of them could never go back. Bingbing, how should we deal with it? Su Weifeng saw that Bei Bingbing's crying had eased a little and pointed at Yingying and asked, let her go, I don't want to see her again. Bei Bingbing whispered, and after saying this, she felt that all the strength in her body had been drained. Thank you, Bingbing, I'm sorry. Yingying didn't expect Bei Bingbing to let her go. She was going to destroy her. If it were her, she would want to kill her. She realized at this time that Bingbing really treated her as a good friend, but it was too late. Yingying couldn't stop crying and ran out crying. She didn't dare to stay here. So many people were staring at her. If Bingbing let her go, these people might not let her go. Only by escaping from here would she be safe. She didn't care that she was on the highway now and ran out desperately. Chapter 954. Off-road vehicle turns into a sedan. These second generations looked at the collapsed girl and did not stop her, but they were whispering and were very disgusted with her behavior. Mr. Su, please let me go too. I was really confused for a moment. Director Ma said hurriedly when he saw Yingying was released, but he did not dare to get out of the car, as if being in the car would give him a sense of security. Bingbing, what do you want to do with this Director Ma? Su Weifeng said coldly as he looked at Director Ma in the car. He would not let this Director Ma go. He had already broken his bottom line, but he still asked Bei Bingbing first, as she was the main victim. Brother Su, you can do it. Bei Bingbing said dejectedly. She was now filled with the pain of losing her best friend, and she was no longer willing to think about Director Ma. Smash it for me. Su Weifeng shouted. As soon as Su Weifeng gave the order, the second generation went crazy. They took out steel pipes and other things and smashed Director Ma's car. Hundreds of people surrounded a Land Rover and smashed it desperately, like a group of thugs. These young people used all their strength to show off in front of Mr. Su and make him notice them. Unfortunately, there were too many people and everyone had the same idea. Director Ma shouted in fear in the car, but no one paid attention to him. In a few seconds, all the windows of the Land Rover were smashed. Director Ma's face and hands were cut by the broken glass and bled. He had to curl up under the seat and wailed continuously. These people smashing and destroying lasted for more than 10 minutes. These young people gradually became exhausted and stopped. As soon as they retreated, the new forces behind them pushed forward again. It was not until more than half an hour later that all the second generation had vented their anger and everyone was satisfied this time. This time, when Su Weifeng saw the Land Rover again, he was shocked. An off-road vehicle was smashed into a sedan. Fortunately, it was an off-road vehicle, otherwise Director Ma would have been crushed. At this time, Director Ma was stuck in the seat, unable to move at all. He kept wailing, and was seriously injured, but not fatally. Su Weifeng called out, and more than 100 supercars roared onto the highway, leaving only Director Ma and the Land Rover in this abandoned service area. Su Weifeng knew that someone would find Director Ma at dawn. Su Weifeng had just contacted Tao Tao. It won't be long before Director Ma's black history will be all over the internet. I believe Director Ma will soon become famous, but this time he is notorious. The authorities will definitely ban this kind of director, and his career will end here. Director Ma has harmed many people over the years. Some people are afraid of his power, and dare not seek revenge on him. When he is knocked down to the mortal world, he will also face the revenge of these people. Thank you, Brother Su, for saving me again. Sitting in Xu Lingling's supercar, Bei Bingbing said gratefully. You are my friend. There is no need to say these things. Su Weifeng said with a smile. It's useless to say these things. Why not pledge your love to me? Xu Lingling said jokingly. Bei Bingbing was startled. She didn't expect this beautiful woman to make such a joke. She didn't know what to say for a moment. Thank you, beautiful woman. Bei Bingbing said hurriedly. You have to thank her. This is Xu Lingling from the Xu family. Without her, we wouldn't have stopped Director Ma's car so quickly. Su Weifeng said seriously. Thank you, Miss Xu. Bei Bingbing said solemnly. After hearing Su Weifeng introduce Xu Lingling's identity, she immediately understood Xu Lingling's identity. She had also heard that the current largest family in Yangcheng is the Xu family, and their head of the family is a young girl named Xu Lingling. She didn't expect that Brother Su could actually invite the head of the Xu family. She was also very surprised. Don't thank me, I don't have such a big face. Those family members came here to please Brother Su. Xu Lingling said with a smile, and briefly explained what happened tonight. Bei Bingbing was stunned. At first, she only knew that Brother Su was a powerful martial artist. She even wanted to introduce him to the director. Then he turned out to be a rich man with a 5-star hotel. How long has it been since she found out that he is the #1 person in Yangcheng, even above all the families? What kind of concept is this? In the city of her family, there is no one who can be above the family. Who is he? Ning Yuling was also shocked. What happened just now made her know Su Weifeng in a new way. Such a man can have any woman he wants. Even superstars and rich daughters can come at will. It's a pity that she was worried that he would have ideas about her. How could such a man look down on her? If he could look down on her, it would be her honor. Thinking of this, Ning Yuling suddenly felt inferior. After sending Bei Bingbing and Ning Yuling back, Su Weifeng also returned to the villa. Xu Lingling did not follow him today. She still had some finishing touches to deal with. Su Weifeng gently pushed open the door, not knowing whether Lin Zhuangxuan was asleep or not, for fear of waking her up. As soon as he closed the door, he was hugged. Lin Zhuangxuan's body still exuded a faint scent of shower gel and water vapor. Zhuangxuan, put on your clothes quickly, or you'll be cold. Su Weifeng said as he went to get her pajamas. Brother Su, can't you bear it anymore? If you can't bear it, you don't have to bear it. Am I Brother Su's person? Lin Zhuangxuan said with a smirk. Zhuangxuan, stop it, it's not the right time yet. Su Weifeng said helplessly. How could a man full of blood and energy like him not want to? But he also had a bottom line, and couldn't delay this girl who truly loved him. Brother Su, how was the cocktail party? Did you have any romantic encounters? That kind of cocktail party is a hunting party for beauties. Lin Zhuangxuan put on her pajamas and said with a smile, not dwelling on what happened just now. She was also joking, and she was also enduring, in order to make Brother Su's injuries recover faster. Don't mention the cocktail party. These directors are really bad guys. Su Weifeng told Lin Zhuangxuan about the cocktail party in detail. Lin Zhuangxuan was also stunned. He thought it was a matter of mutual consent, but he didn't expect that Director Ma was so mean. At the same time, he felt happy about Director Ma's end. People like this need to be beaten hard. Only when they are beaten painfully can they remember. This kind of man really deserves it. Brother Su, you should call me. I want to kick him twice. Lin Zhuangxuan also said angrily. The situation was too urgent at that time. I will definitely call you next time. Su Weifeng said with a smile. Yeah. Lin Zhuangxuan nodded happily. Brother Su, don't you know that our company is almost crowded with people today? Lin Zhuangxuan suddenly said excitedly. Oh. Who are they? So many people. Su Weifeng said with a smile. He had already guessed some of it. Almost all the companies that had previously severed cooperation with our company have come here, begging us for cooperation this time. The prices they offer are higher than the last, almost as high as an auction. Two of them almost came to blows in their quest to sign a contract with us, Lin Zhuangxuan said excitedly. She knew that all this was thanks to Brother Su, who solved all the problems just one day after he came back. She was also proud to have such a man. Chapter 955 Miss Bei. Zhuangxuan, you have worked hard these days. Don't worry too much about the company's affairs. I don't want you to become a strong woman. I hope you can live happily, just like before. Su Weifeng suddenly said to Lin Zhuangxuan seriously. Brother Su, I know, but dream film and television is ours. To me, it's like our child. I feel that you are by my side in the company, and I feel especially safe. I want to run our company well, and make it better and better. Lin Zhuangxuan said with a smile. Su Weifeng sighed. Lin Zhuangxuan's feelings for him were too deep. He was considering whether to have a child with Lin Zhuangxuan, but this would not work. It was too selfish. Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan hugged each other, said goodnight to each other, and fell asleep one after another. The next morning, before getting up, Su Weifeng's phone rang. Su Weifeng picked up the phone in a daze, and saw that it was Ajix. Hello, Ajix. Su Weifeng said with all his strength. Brother Su, are you excited to receive my call? Ajix laughed heartily, and Lin Zhuangxuan was awakened by the voice. Su Weifeng was very upset. I haven't woken up yet, how can I be excited? Brother Su, I will go to Yangcheng to discuss a business, and then the mission will be completed. We brothers will finally have a chance to have a good drink. Ajix laughed and said, he was very excited. Where are you going to discuss the business? I'll find you. Su Weifeng thought for a while and said, Ajix was not familiar with Yangcheng, and it would be more convenient for him to go directly to his place of work to find him. I'm going to Yangcheng Oil Company to discuss some oil cooperation. Brother Su is also good. I should be able to finish it soon. Ajix said. Who is Brother Su? Why does his accent sound so awkward? Lin Zhuangxuan also woke up and said curiously. This is a friend I met abroad. I won't come back to eat tonight. Su Weifeng said with a smile. You're not coming back again. Lin Zhuangxuan pouted and said unhappily. Brother Su was really too busy and didn't have time to have dinner with her. Zhuangxuan, be good. I'll have dinner with you tomorrow night. Okay, it's a deal. Lin Zhuangxuan finally laughed. She wasn't really angry. It's a deal. Su Weifeng also laughed. After breakfast, Lin Zhuangxuan led Zhao Xiaoshu and Sun Yumeng to work. Su Weifeng returned to his room, thinking about something. The crisis at the company has been resolved. It's safe for the time being. It's time for him to go back to Galan. The mission has to continue. Thinking about the short time he has to spend with Lin Zhuangxuan and the others, he feels uncomfortable. He is embarrassed to say that he has to leave again. He knows that Lin Zhuangxuan and the others will be sad, but there is no way. The mission is more important. Stay for 2 more days, and then go back with Ajix, Su Weifeng thought. In the afternoon, Su Weifeng saw that the time was almost up, so he took a taxi to Yangcheng Petroleum. Because he had to drink with Ajix, Su Weifeng did not drive. He always abided by the rule of not drinking while driving. Yangcheng Petroleum, a local oil company in Yangcheng, has a very imposing building at its headquarters. Two stone lions squat in front of the door. It was also the first time for Su Weifeng to come here. He looked around curiously. Su Weifeng's actions attracted the attention of the building security guards. A middle-aged security guard in his 40s came over. "What are you doing?" The middle-aged security guard looked at Su Weifeng vigilantly. "This is the headquarters of Yangcheng Petroleum. Outsiders cannot be allowed to enter casually. Moreover, the young man looked suspicious. "I'm waiting for someone here," Su Weifeng said casually. "You can't wait for someone here. Wait for someone to stay away from here," the security guard said in a bad tone. Su Weifeng felt a little unhappy when he heard his words, and his brows frowned unconsciously. At this moment, a man came from behind and patted Su Weifeng on the shoulder. "Su Weifeng?" the man shouted in surprise. Su Weifeng turned around and saw a tall and thin man with skin as white as a girl's skin and meticulously combed hair, smiling at him. Where did this pretty boy come from? Su Weifeng's first reaction was that this man looked like a pretty boy, and he didn't like this kind of man. But he felt familiar, and this man actually knew his name. Suddenly, a name appeared in his mind. Bei Xiaoji, nicknamed Miss Bei, his elementary school classmate, who was very white at that time, and some people called him a pretty boy. I haven't seen him for so many years, but I didn't expect to meet him here. It's rare that he can recognize me. "Miss Bei?" Su Weifeng said uncertainly. "What Miss Bei?" "It's Bei Xiaoji," the young man said angrily, his eyebrows slightly wrinkled. Now he is not the same as when he was a child. Now he is an employee of Yangcheng Petroleum. Needless to say, Yangcheng Petroleum's status in Yangcheng and the treatment of employees there is not comparable to that of ordinary companies. He is also full of superiority in his heart. He thinks about contacting his old classmates and showing off how well he is doing now. He has entered Yangcheng Petroleum and has to show off his superiority. Su Weifeng was not outstanding when he was young, and he was not good at studying. He was a child who was not valued. When Bei Xiaoji saw that he actually called him a nickname, he was immediately unhappy. If a good classmate called him like this, it would be fine. It was friendship among classmates. But when an ordinary classmate like Su Weifeng called him, it was a provocation to him. Su Weifeng didn't think too much about it. He was very happy to see a classmate he hadn't seen for so many years. "Bei Xiaoji, why are you here? We haven't seen each other for more than 10 years. What a coincidence today," Su Weifeng said happily. "I was admitted to Yangcheng University. Because of my good grades, I came to Yangcheng Petroleum after graduation. I'm doing well here and now I'm a team leader," Bei Xiaoji said very proudly. "Team leader Bei, do you know this person?" the middle-aged security guard said to Bei Xiaoji in confusion. "He is my elementary school classmate," Bei Xiaoji said casually. "So you are looking for team leader Bei, then I feel relieved. I thought it was a bad guy," the middle-aged security guard said. The middle-aged security guard went to patrol other places again. "Su Weifeng, what are you doing now?" Bei Xiaoji looked at Su Weifeng and asked. Su Weifeng didn't know what to say for a moment. He said that he opened a film and television company and was worth tens of billions. Isn't this a bit too high profile? He doesn't like to show off these things. Bei Xiaoji saw that Su Weifeng was a little embarrassed, and he guessed immediately that Su Weifeng must be doing poorly now and was embarrassed to say it. "Haha, we are also classmates. How come I'm doing so well? This person is really incomparable." The more Bei Xiaoji thought about it, the more proud he became. "I heard that you joined the army after graduating from high school. Why didn't you take the college entrance examination? Your grades are not bad enough to fail to get into college," Bei Xiaoji asked curiously, with a proud look in his eyes. He went to a key university, Yangcheng University, and this was the difference. Chapter 956 Hitting the Wall. "My grades are not good either. I prefer to join the army rather than go to college," Su Weifeng said calmly. He thought his choice was right. If he hadn't joined the army, he would have regretted it for the rest of his life. Joining the army is indeed a good way out, but you have to pass the military academy entrance exam. That's not that easy. It's a higher priority than the first class college. People like you who go directly to the army are just a soldier. You will be discharged after a few years. Bei Xiaoji shook his head and sighed, but he was sneering in his heart. I just came back from the army, Su Weifeng said. He didn't think that being a soldier was bad. They were all soldiers of the country, and any branch of the army was glorious. I said, you will end up like this if you don't go to college and join the army. It's too late to regret it now, Bei Xiaoji said proudly. Su Weifeng didn't argue with Bei Xiaoji. There was no point in arguing about this kind of thing. People like him would never understand the sacredness of the army. This is where Su Weifeng was willing to devote his life. You are not here to apply for a job, are you? There was supposed to be a job fair today, but the education required is at least a bachelor's degree. Your high school education is not enough. Old classmate, forget about Yangcheng Petroleum. This company recruits elites, and you can't get in. You should find a capable job down to earth. Don't be too ambitious. Things like express delivery, security, etc. are all good, and you will definitely have no problem with your physical fitness after serving in the army. Bei Xiaoji said earnestly, as if he was doing good for you. I'm not here to find a job, I'm here to wait for someone. Su Weifeng was speechless. This Bei Xiaoji had a very good self-esteem. Su Weifeng frowned. You also know the employees here? How is it possible? How can this be a place where ordinary people can come in? How can you know the people here? Bei Xiaoji said in disbelief. The people I know are not employees here, but people who come here to do business. Su Weifeng still said, oh, that's the case. There are indeed many people who come here to do business. Salesmen often come in and out here. Your friend should be a salesman. Bei Xiaoji was relieved at once. If Su Weifeng knew a salesman, it would be much easier to accept. Let's go. I'll take you in for a tour, Bei Xiaoji said to Su Weifeng. No need. I'll just wait for him at the door. Su Weifeng said. It doesn't matter. No one can stop you if you follow me in. Let you see the environment of Yangcheng Petroleum. This is the most high-end company in Yangcheng, Bei Xiaoji said proudly, trying to find a sense of superiority. Su Weifeng had no choice but to follow Bei Xiaoji into the gate of the oil company. As soon as he entered the gate, he saw a huge banner hanging in the hall, warmly welcoming Mr. Ajax to visit. Su Weifeng was amused. This Ajax came here and made it quite grand, like welcoming a leader, but Ajax did have such a place. His family was famous in country K. Look at this staircase, pure marble floor, solid wood door. This is my working environment. How about it, high-end, right? Bei Xiaoji introduced it to Su Weifeng one by one like a shopping guide, feeling very proud. It's really good. Su Weifeng responded, but he didn't actually look at what he said. How could these things catch Su Weifeng's eye? Just take a look. Don't think about taking pictures and posting them with your phone. Taking pictures is prohibited here. Bei Xiaoji looked at Su Weifeng and smiled. Su Weifeng's head was full of black lines. What's the point? I still took pictures. It's just a company. What's there to show? Where is this Ajax now? Su Weifeng pointed at the name on the banner and asked. This is a big shot from country K, an oil tycoon level. Oh, I forgot about this. Okay, you come in and take a look too. Let's go quickly. If the leader sees you, I will be in trouble, Bei Xiaoji said in a low voice. He was too excited to see Su Weifeng, an old classmate, and was busy showing off, and forgot about what happened today. Is this Ajax a big shot? Su Weifeng said with a smile. Of course he is big, so big that you can't even imagine it. Bei Xiaoji said exaggeratedly. I have to meet such a big shot. Where is he now? Su Weifeng asked with a smile. Mr. Ajax is now on the 8th floor, discussing business with our President Han. Don't go and cause trouble for me. Go quickly. If President Han blames me, I can't help you, Bei Xiaoji said angrily. How could this Su Weifeng be so ungrateful? He still wanted to see Mr. Ajax. Can you see such a big shot just because you want to? Su Weifeng smiled and walked towards the elevator without paying attention to Bei Xiaoji. He suddenly found that Miss Bei was still so annoying when she grew up, just as annoying as when she was a child. Seeing Su Weifeng enter the elevator, Bei Xiaoji had to follow him in, looking at Su Weifeng angrily. It was a mistake to bring this kid in, but now was not the time to argue with him. Su Weifeng directly pressed the 8th floor, which was the floor where the general manager of Yangcheng Petroleum was. Su Weifeng, what do you want to do? You can't see Mr. Ajax. How can such a big shot meet you? Do you want to recommend yourself to our President Han directly? Bei Xiaoji suddenly thought of a possibility. Su Weifeng must be here to find a job. After hearing that Yangcheng Petroleum has high educational requirements, he wants to recommend himself to the CEO directly. Damn, isn't this a trap for me? If I anger President Han, he might be fired. I will be in trouble. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. Ajax is my friend. I'm just waiting for him. Su Weifeng said calmly. Su Weifeng, we are classmates. Why are you pretending to be like that with me? Who is Mr. Ajax? He is an oil tycoon with a powerful force behind him. Let alone you. I don't even have the chance to meet Mr. Ajax. We are not on the same level at all. Bei Xiaoji said angrily. Su Weifeng was speechless. Why did he look so miserable? But it was no wonder. In their eyes, he had just been discharged from the army. He was no different from those students who had just graduated from college. They were all rookies, and they would not have any social status. As soon as Su Weifeng got out of the elevator, he ran into a wall head-on and took a step back subconsciously. Bei Xiaoji's face turned green. What he feared was really what happened. He was afraid that the boss would see Su Weifeng. Mr. Han was right here, and he was afraid that he would bump into Mr. Ajax. He really bumped into Mr. Ajax. Damn it, did you ruin me on purpose? Bei Xiaoji pushed Su Weifeng to the wall from behind. Get out of the way, don't block Mr. Ajax's way. Bei Xiaoji shouted loudly in order to distance himself from Su Weifeng, pretending that he was not familiar with him. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 957. Su Weifeng is a big shot. Su Weifeng was startled. Is this Bei Xiaoji crazy? President Han frowned and looked at his employee and the young man. He was angry. Mr. Ajax is a distinguished guest. I told you not to go out today, but there are always disobedient people. Sure enough, I offended Mr. Ajax. If this angers Mr. Ajax, I will ask you. Mr. Ajax, I'm sorry. This kid didn't even look at the road when walking and bumped into you. Are you okay? President Han hurriedly asked with concern. He knew that with Ajax's physique, how could he be in trouble? He felt that even if a cow bumped into Ajax, Ajax would be fine. The bald big guy had a gloomy face and lowered his eyes, obviously angry. President Han secretly said that it was not good. This is a great god. It was not easy to invite him. The cooperation was about to succeed, but this happened. He really wanted to skin these two guys. Bei Xiaoji was terrified. It was over. It was over. Mr. Ajax was really angry. He was in trouble this time. Damn Su Weifeng, you are a jinx. Miss Bei, what's going on? Who is this person? President Han shouted loudly with a gloomy face. Many people in the company called her Miss Bei. After all, the name was too easy to be associated with. However, it was usually the leaders who called her that. No one dared to call her subordinates that. Bei Xiaoji was so frightened that he couldn't speak. He didn't dare to say that he brought him in. The company's regulations also prohibited bringing outsiders in casually. This kid came in by himself. I found him and came to catch him. Bei Xiaoji hesitated for a moment and suddenly said. He also thought of it on a whim and was eager to distance himself from the matter. President Han looked at Bei Xiaoji in confusion and then looked at Su Weifeng next to him, wondering what this person was doing and why the security guards didn't stop him. Suddenly Ajax moved, slapped Bei Xiaoji, pushed Bei Xiaoji to the ground, and slid more than a meter away. Bei Xiaoji was stunned. Why did Mr. Ajax push him? It was Su Weifeng who bumped into him just now. Didn't he see who bumped into him? President Han was also shocked. His thoughts were roughly the same as Bei Xiaoji's, but this was not important. The important point was that Mr. Ajax was angry, and the consequences were serious. Brother Su is my friend. How dare you push my friend? Our cooperation is cancelled. Ajax came to Su Weifeng and said loudly to President Han. Bei Xiaoji had just climbed up and suddenly he was stunned. What was going on? Did I hear it wrong? He said Su Weifeng was his friend. He was not angry because Su Weifeng bumped into him, but because he pushed Su Weifeng, pushed his friend, and then he pushed himself. He seemed to understand that the logic was like this, but Bei Xiaoji still didn't believe it. How could Su Weifeng know Mr. Ajax? They were not in the same league. Mr. Ajax was a super rich man, and Su Weifeng was just a soldier who had just retired. There was no intersection at all. Mr. Ajax, I'm really sorry just now. My employee pushed your friend. There must be some misunderstanding here. I will definitely deal with this employee later. Our contract is mutually beneficial for both parties. This is also a big deal. Mr. Ajax, please think about it again. President Han said anxiously. He was the boss of this company, but he was also an employee. There was a big boss above him. The cooperation with Ajax was basically a done deal. If this was messed up, his status as a boss would be over. You have offended my friend. There is nothing to say. The cooperation is invalid. Our family will no longer cooperate with your Yangcheng Petroleum. Ajax said firmly. It is absolutely not allowed to dare to hit his friend. This is a slap in his face. Bei Xiaoji was already stunned. He didn't expect that Su Weifeng's face was so big. He just pushed him, and Mr. Ajax would not cooperate with Yangcheng Petroleum. If the cooperation failed, he would be the first to be fired, and he might not even get his salary. Su Weifeng, please help me speak up. I was just in a hurry just now. I didn't expect you to know Mr. Ajax. Bei Xiaoji pleaded with Su Weifeng. He was counting on Su Weifeng now. If he pleaded with Mr. Ajax, maybe he would not terminate the cooperation, and he would keep his job. This job was his capital to show off. If he lost this job, he might as well die. Su Weifeng, Su Weifeng. President Han felt that this name was a little familiar at first. Suddenly, his eyes widened and looked at Su Weifeng like two ping pong balls. Do you know me? Su Weifeng looked at President Han and asked in confusion. How could he have no impression of him at all? Boss Su, don't you remember that you are also a shareholder of Yangcheng Petroleum with 20% of the shares? Boss Han said respectfully, nodding and bowing his head almost to the ground. If Mr. Ajax is a big customer, then Mr. Su is the boss, his immediate superior. Bei Xiaoji was stunned. How could this be possible? It's okay to know a big man like Ajax, but he is also a shareholder of Yangcheng Petroleum, the boss of his big boss. This is absolutely impossible. There must be something wrong. Didn't he just retire from the army? Bei Xiaoji's mind is now in a mess. Brother Su, is this Yangcheng Petroleum your company? Why didn't you say so earlier? Ajax slapped his thigh and said, if I had known it was your company, why would I have investigated it? Wouldn't it be better to cooperate with you directly? Ajax said generously. I have a lot of companies on hand, and I can't remember which companies they are all at the moment. Su Weifeng said helplessly. He really didn't know. He was not good at managing companies, and was not interested in them. President Han was not surprised. He knew that Su Weifeng, a shareholder, was a recent celebrity in Yangcheng. The rise and fall of many families were related to him. He was said to have at least dozens of companies in which he had shares. He did not expect that this mysterious big shot would come to the company today. He secretly hated it in his heart. It was all Miss Bei's fault. He had the opportunity to show off in front of Mr. Su, but he had ruined it. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Bei Xiaoji felt a thunderblast in his ears, rumbling in his ears. What did I just hear? Su Weifeng was not only a shareholder of our Yangcheng Petroleum, but also a shareholder of many other companies, so many that I couldn't remember them all. Who was this person? How could he be so rich? I was just showing off my superiority in front of him, and he could deprive me of this sense of superiority in an instant. In his eyes, my sense of superiority was just a joke. The more Bei Xiaoji thought about it, the more ashamed he felt. He really wanted to find a crack in the ground to crawl into. Chapter 958, Surprised Ajax. Brother Su, I didn't expect you to be so strong in Yangcheng. You are too low-key. Ajix said with a smile, not too surprised. Su Weifeng's skills can be described as a monster. If such a person is ordinary, it would be a ghost. I'm not interested in these companies. Su Weifeng said with a smile. Bei Xiaoji and President Han did not dare to interrupt. They hated people like you the most. They are not interested in the company or the money. You are not interested, but I am. Mr. Ajix, look at our cooperation. President Han said hurriedly. He knew that this last chance could not be missed. What else did Brother Su's company say? Sign quickly. Brother Su and I have to go drink after that. Ajix laughed loudly. President Han was relieved and couldn't close his mouth with laughter. He finally made up for it. Ajix didn't even look at the contract, signed it directly, and walked out of the gate of Yangcheng Petroleum with Su Weifeng. Boss Han, does Su Weifeng really have so many companies? That's impossible. Isn't he just discharged from the army? Bei Xiaoji and Boss Han sent Su Weifeng and his friends to the car. On the way back, Bei Xiaoji couldn't help asking. I don't know the details, but Su Weifeng is not an ordinary person. He has a lot of faith in these families in Yangcheng. Several families that offended him disappeared, and the families that were on good terms with him became top families. Boss Han said to Bei Xiaoji thoughtfully. He was not sure what the relationship between Bei Xiaoji and Mr. Su was. He needed to find out before deciding how Bei Xiaoji would deal with it. Until Boss Han had walked into the building, Bei Xiaoji was still stunned. His classmate could actually control these families. They were families, the top forces in Yangcheng. So where did he stand? In his eyes, he was just a little ant. The more he thought about it, the more bitter Bei Xiaoji felt. Brother Su, I didn't expect you to be so strong in China. I'll have to find you next time I have something to do. Ajix said with a smile. You are exaggerating. I just have some companies. But if you have any problems in Yangcheng and the provincial capital, you can come to me. I can help you with general matters. Su Weifeng said with a smile. Ajix is also his friend. He has helped him a lot in Galan. There is no need to hide things from him. Ajix was not too surprised. His family is also a powerful family. This is still easy for him to accept. What do you want to eat, Ajix? I will treat you today. Su Weifeng said with a big wave of his hand. Of course, you are a local tyrant. Ajix laughed. Su Weifeng was full of black lines. How can this be called a local tyrant? It doesn't sound like a good person. I'm just being a host. But I didn't explain to Ajix. After all, he is a foreigner. It is rare for him to be so proficient in Mandarin. I can't ask too much. It's boring to eat out. Why not go to your house and let your sister-in-law cook some Chinese dishes for me? I really like Chinese dishes, especially the hot pot. Ajix's eyes glowed green when he talked about eating. Oh, no, your sister-in-law didn't come back with you. You came back with me. How could I forget this? Ajix suddenly slapped his forehead and remembered. Ah, you mean Xiao too. She didn't come back, but you can also go to my house to eat. Someone will cook for you. Su Weifeng said with a smile. Ajix was stunned for a moment. If his sister-in-law didn't come back, then who would cook for me? Suddenly, he understood and looked at Su Weifeng with a sly smile, as if all men understood. Su Weifeng was completely speechless about him. Why was his mind so dirty? On the plane to Galan, he and Xia Bing went to the bathroom, and it was this big guy who took the lead in refueling. Now he really regretted that he shouldn't have taken him to his home. The two drove to Su Weifeng's villa very quickly. The guard of the villa couldn't help but look at Ajix a few more times. Could this big guy be a basketball star? His physique is too strong. Under the leadership of Su Weifeng, the two returned to their villa. As soon as they entered the house, they saw Liu King sitting on the sofa watching TV. Liu King got up when she heard the noise. She was also shocked to see the big guy Ajix. Fortunately, Brother Su followed behind her, otherwise she would have called out, "Hello, sister-in-law." Ajix shouted loudly in strange Mandarin. Liu King was stunned for a moment and said subconsciously, but she understood it immediately, and her face turned red. Seeing that Brother Su didn't say anything, her heart was beating wildly. She was in a good mood, and looked at this big guy who looked like black charcoal. Liu King immediately went to wash the fruit and entertain the guests. At this time, Liu Jia just walked out of the room. It was obvious that she had just taken a nap and looked sleepy, but she was born beautiful. Even so, she was still a great beauty, and there was another flavor. Ajax was stunned. The beauty just now was his sister-in-law. This beauty was no worse than the beauty just now. Both her figure and face were top-notch. He opened his mouth. Sister-in-law, okay. Ajax thought quickly and called out. He would rather kill the wrong person than let her go. Rliu Jia was also stunned. Su Weifeng's head was full of black lines. This Ajax called everyone sister-in-law. He didn't care when he called Liu King just now. Now he called Liu Jia sister-in-law. Liu Jia should be sad if he had to explain now. He knew that these two girls liked him. He sighed secretly and didn't say anything. Liu King brought the fruit. Su Weifeng asked her and Liu Jia to buy more vegetables for hot pot in the evening. Liu King looked at Ajax's physique and sighed in her heart. She had to buy more. If she bought less, it would not be enough for this big guy to eat alone. Liu King and Liu Jia packed up their things and went to buy vegetables. Brother Su, you are so strong. I admire you so much now. You have so many girlfriends. Whether it is the Ice Beauty and Bunny in Galan or the one at home, they are all top notch. Any one of them is a 100-point beauty. How did you cheat them? Ajax said sourly. He was also very envious in his heart. He only had one wife, and she was a tigress. Haha, how can it be cheated? Personal charm. Su Weifeng said with a smile. He was also very proud. Brother Su, are you healthy? Our family has a secret recipe passed down from generation to generation. I will get some for you when I return to Galan. Ajax said earnestly. Su Weifeng almost spit out a mouthful of water. This big guy has such a rich imagination. Thank you, I don't need it. Su Weifeng rolled his eyes. Brother Su, we are just friends. Don't be polite to me. Tell me whenever you need anything. Ajax patted Su Weifeng on the shoulder. Su Weifeng stood up immediately and avoided Ajax's big hand. Ajax was a good friend, but sometimes he made Su Weifeng a little worried. Chapter 959 Hello sister-in-law. Su Weifeng sent a message to Lin Zhuangsun, saying that he was bringing Ajax home to eat hot pot today. Lin Zhuangsun was also very happy. After finishing the work at hand, he, Sun Yumeng, and Zhao Xiaoshu left work early. Several people also bought a lot of fruits to entertain the guests. Brother Su, I'm back. Lin Zhuangsun was the first to come in, holding a watermelon, and said with a smile. Let me introduce you. This is my girlfriend Lin Zhuangsun, and this is Ajax. Su Weifeng introduced with a smile. Ajax thought that the two beauties who came in were Liu King and Liu Jia, but why is there another one coming back? This one is dressed more maturely than the other two, but also more seductive. Is this beauty Brother Su's girlfriend? Hello, sister-in-law. Ajax didn't have time to think too much and hurriedly greeted. Brother Su. Zhao Xiaoshu also ran in and hugged Su Weifeng's arm as soon as she came in. She was the youngest among the girls, but she was also the most open-minded and didn't care if there were others around her. Ajax swallowed his saliva. Another beauty came and subconsciously looked at Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng nodded awkwardly. He was a little embarrassed to introduce her. Hello, sister-in-law. Ajax felt that his tone was indescribably weird. Hello. Zhao Xiaoshu also greeted Ajax generously. Brother Su. The last one, Sun Yumeng, also came in. Ajax looked at this big-eyed cute girl. She was the same as in the comics. Although her style was different from the previous ones, she was also a real beauty. Ajax's face was full of bitterness. Today, this was not a hot pot, but a dog abuse. Hello, sister-in-law, Ajax shouted with a bitter face. Fortunately, he was dark-skinned, and Sun Yumeng didn't see anything wrong with his expression. Hello, Sun Yumeng said a little embarrassedly. Not long after, Liu King and Liu Jia also came back. They bought a lot of vegetables and meat. They bought 20 kilograms of meat alone, and a big fish of more than 10 kilograms. There were several bags of vegetables. The supermarket staff helped them bring them back, otherwise they would not be able to come back. Why did you buy so many vegetables? Su Weifeng was also stunned by so many vegetables. He wondered how these two girls could buy so many. We are afraid that, if we buy too little, we will not have enough to eat. We have to buy more when there are customers. Liu King said with a smile. Liu King and Liu Jia both looked at Ajax. Although I look big, I really can't eat that much. Ajax covered his face and joked. Ha ha ha. Several girls laughed at Ajax's appearance. They didn't expect that this big guy was not fierce at all, but quite cute. Ajax poked Su Weifeng and quietly raised a thumb. He was really convinced. There were 2 big beauties in the house, and there were 5 big beauties in the house. 7. Is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? He was really envious and jealous. Several girls were busy in the yard, setting up the table in the yard, washing and arranging the dishes, and Su Weifeng and Ajax sat down and waited for the meal. Su Weifeng and Ajax were going to help, but were driven back by several girls, asking them not to make trouble. Just as they were about to eat, the doorbell rang. Su Weifeng was also wondering who was calling. Could it be his parents? That shouldn't be the case. They had the key, and they always went straight into the house. When they came back, Liu Jia hurried to check the door, and soon Liu Jia and a short-haired girl came to the yard. It was Xu Lingling. Hello, it's so lively today. Brother Su didn't call me. Xu Lingling looked at the hot pot with shining eyes and complained. Your nose is so good. Why do I need to call you? Lin Zhuangxuan said with contempt. Xu Lingling was not angry either. Now she and Lin Zhuangxuan get along very well, no longer like before. She knew that Lin Zhuangxuan was joking. Who is this? Brother Su, introduce me to her quickly. Xu Lingling said anxiously. This is Ajax, this is my girlfriend Xu Lingling. Su Weifeng said quickly. Hello, sister-in-law. Ajax continued to greet. Today, the most common words he said were hello, sister-in-law. He felt that he would have to say this more in his dreams tonight. Before Xu Lingling sat down, the doorbell rang again, and Liu Jia hurried to open the door. Soon, Liu Jia and a fitness beauty with neat short hair, heroic and very stylish walked in. It was the policewoman Feng Baoer. Brother Su, where have you been recently? I only knew you were back, because I heard that you got into trouble again last night. Feng Baoer frowned, and said angrily to Su Weifeng. Baoer, I have something to do. Hurry up and sit down to eat hot pot. Su Weifeng said hurriedly. Ajax couldn't know all his affairs. Feng Baoer also understood, and noticed that there was an international friend here. Who is this? Feng Baoer asked in confusion. Ajax stared blankly at this plump and very stylish beauty. His mind was already blank. This must be Brother Su's girlfriend. God, why are you so unfair? Why does Brother Su have so many girlfriends? All kinds of beauties, but I only have one tigress. Ajax's heart was wailing. This is Ajax, this is. Su Weifeng was about to introduce, when he was interrupted by Ajax. No need to introduce, I'm Ajax. Hello sister-in-law. Ajax forced a smile, showing her little white teeth. Hello, hello. Feng Baoer was also amused by Ajax's expression, and hurriedly greeted her. As for Ajax calling her sister-in-law, she did not defend herself, but subconsciously ignored it. She couldn't say what her relationship with Brother Su was now. They were close enough, but there was still a little bit of resistance in her heart. As for Lin Zhuangxuan and the others, they all knew about Feng Baoer's existence, and they all kept it to themselves. Although Feng Baoer had a hot temper, she was still very kind. Lin Zhuangxuan liked her very much, and had designated her as Brother Su's girlfriend. Seeing Feng Baoer coming, she took the initiative to greet her. Several girls talked about bags, cosmetics and other topics that girls were interested in, and the atmosphere became lively for a while. Brother Su, I can eat hot pot now, right? My sister-in-law won't come again, right? Several girls were chatting enthusiastically together, and Ajax whispered to Su Weifeng. His heartbeat had not calmed down yet. No, it's time to eat. Su Weifeng smiled awkwardly. Ajax finally breathed a sigh of relief, and was about to eat, when suddenly a head popped out from the fence opposite him. A little beauty with a baby face was drooling at the hot pot on the table. Ajax was startled, and almost fell to the ground. Teo, why are you here? Su Weifeng said, staring at the little beauty outside the fence in amazement. I've been staying at Sister Keking's house for the past 2 days. If I hadn't wanted to see what you were doing just now, I wouldn't have known that you guys were going to eat hot pot. Take me with you. Tao Tao said expectantly, staring at the hot pot. Coming quickly, or it will be gone if you're late. Su Weifeng said. Great, there's hot pot to eat. Tao Tao cheered, and was about to climb the iron fence. Go through the main entrance. Su Weifeng was so upset. When can you be more ladylike? There are guests here. Chapter 960. Don't let women drink too much. Lin Zhuangxuan and a group of other girls couldn't help laughing. They knew Tao Tao, but they had never really met her. They didn't expect it to be so fun. They all had a good impression of Tao Tao. This kind of lively girl is much more popular than the cold girl. Of course, this is for girls. In less than a minute, Tao Tao ran into the yard. Hi, everyone, I'm Tao Tao. Tao Tao smiled and greeted everyone. Tao Tao, everyone knows you. Come and sit down quickly. Lin Zhuangxuan smiled and greeted. Several girls also smiled and looked at Tao Tao, the quirky little lolly, and greeted her one after another. Hello, sister-in-law. Ajik stood up and said hurriedly. Now he knew that anyone who came here was his sister-in-law without asking. He was already in awe of Brother Su. He really had all kinds of women. Here came another lolly, and she was the kind of lolly with a hot body. He was so jealous. Hello, who is this big guy? Tao Tao had long identified herself as Su Weifeng's girlfriend, but she had never made it public in front of so many people. Ajix called her sister-in-law in front of Su Weifeng's girlfriend. Tao Tao was embarrassed for once, but Ajix attracted her attention in an instant. This is Ajix, my friend. Su Weifeng said with a smile. You are so strong. The black actors I saw in Av are not as strong as you. What a pity. Tao Tao stretched out his hand and pinched Ajix's arm. Ajix quickly retracted his arm and felt his hair stand on end. He had never been so embarrassed in front of a beautiful woman, and she was a little lolly. This little lolly looked like a little pervert. What's wrong with me being strong? Do I have to shoot Av if I'm strong? Ajix didn't know how to answer this little lolly. Su Weifeng was full of black lines on his head. Tao Tao really dared to say anything. He stretched out his hand and rubbed Tao Tao's little head hard. Tao Tao screamed and gave up the topic of Ajik's shooting average. Lin Zhuangxuan and a group of other girls were also stunned. Brother Su's girlfriend was really unrestrained. This topic was fine to discuss in private, but in this kind of occasion, it was awesome. Brother Su, I strongly suggest you try our family's secret recipe. Now I know that our secret recipe is prepared for you. Ajix whispered to Su Weifeng, and at the same time, he swept his eyes over the group of beauties and sighed in his heart. Su Weifeng agreed and sighed in his heart. I would like to use it, but I can't. Although there are so many girlfriends, each of them is a beauty, but it's not as good as you think. It's also tormenting to have beautiful women, but not be able to touch them. However, this pain can only be known by yourself, and you can't tell Ajix. The two men had their own thoughts and drank a lot. These beauties were no longer reserved. After letting go, they drank no less than Su Weifeng. In the end, they were all drunk. Even Liu King and Liu Jia were drunk. Tao Tao almost fell into the hot pot. Fortunately, Su Weifeng was quick to pull her out. Su Weifeng felt overwhelmed when he saw these girls. He took them back to the room one by one, changed them into pajamas, and covered them with blankets. Even Liu King and Liu Jia were no exception. They had to change their clothes because the wine they drank was all over their bodies. Tao Tao and Feng Baoer, who fell in the yard, couldn't leave either. Su Weifeng got them all to the guest room. With so many girls gathered together, Su Weifeng realized that he actually had so many girlfriends. The visual impact was really strong. No wonder Ajix looked at him with such envy. Su Weifeng originally wanted to arrange Ajix to stay in the guest room, but Ajix insisted on leaving. He was fine. Although he was a little shaky when walking, he was still conscious. Su Weifeng let him go. Ajix really didn't dare to live here. If Brother Su and his girlfriends made any noise at night, he would definitely be able to imagine so many beauties in his mind. Isn't this torture? He definitely couldn't live here. Su Weifeng drove his X7 to send Ajix back to the hotel where he was staying. As for the drunk driving check, Su Weifeng was not afraid. He had already used his true key to force the alcohol out of his body. It was the same as not drinking. Although there was some smell of alcohol on his clothes, there was no smell in his blood. Brother Su, you have more than so many girlfriends, right? Ajix said tentatively in the car. It seems that there are a few more. Su Weifeng said somewhat embarrassedly. Ajix was just probing, but he was completely speechless. After getting Su Weifeng's affirmative answer, he was completely numb. His brother was too awesome, a fighter among men. After sending Ajix back to the hotel, Su Weifeng also returned to his villa. Su Weifeng pricked up his ears. His five senses were far superior to ordinary people. He could hear the girls' rooms breathing evenly, and there was a soft snoring sound. He didn't know whose it was. It should be, because they drank too much. Su Weifeng smiled. He was really blessed. Back to his room, Lin Zhuangxuan was talking in his sleep. Brother Su, don't go. I don't want you to go. Lin Zhuangxuan's voice was intermittent. However, Su Weifeng could still distinguish what Lin Zhuangxuan said. Alas, this girl, she was under too much pressure, but it was all suppressed in her heart. She wanted to be with him forever, but she never said it, fearing that it would affect her emotions and put pressure on herself. If I were an ordinary person, I would definitely stay with her for the rest of my life. Su Weifeng felt bitter in his heart. Su Weifeng just lay on the bed, looking at the girl, and suddenly found that Lin Zhuangxuan's expression was very uncomfortable, frowning. Su Weifeng knew that this was because she drank too much. He put his hand on Lin Zhuangxuan's head and used his true energy to help her digest the alcohol. In a few minutes, the expression on Lin Zhuangxuan's face became calm, and she should not be so uncomfortable anymore. At this time, Su Weifeng withdrew his hand. Water, water, Lin Zhuangxuan said vaguely, but she had not woken up yet. This was a subconscious word, because she was thirsty after drinking too much. Su Weifeng went to pour her a glass of water, helped her up, and fed it to Lin Zhuangxuan. Thank you, Brother Su. This time Lin Zhuangxuan woke up and felt much better after drinking the water. I know you were massaging my head just now. Lin Zhuangxuan also became energetic after drinking the water. Don't drink so much next time. Who will take care of you when I'm not around? Su Weifeng said distressedly while touching Lin Zhuangxuan's head. Yeah, I know. Lin Zhuangxuan said with a somewhat gloomy expression. What's wrong with Zhuangxuan? Su Weifeng asked puzzledly as he looked at Lin Zhuangxuan's appearance. Brother Su, Lin Zhuangxuan wanted to say something, but hesitated. What's wrong with Zhuangxuan? Just say whatever you want to say. What's wrong with you talking to me? Su Weifeng said to Lin Zhuangxuan with a smile. Chapter 961 The Blessing of Qi. Brother Su, are you leaving? Lin Zhuangxuan finally asked. She knew that Su Weifeng still had a mission to complete. He came back temporarily because he was dealing with things at the company. Now that the company's affairs were dealt with, he should leave. But she didn't dare to ask because she was afraid that she would feel uncomfortable if she knew the result. Yes, but not right away. I should stay for a few more days. I haven't gone to the Su family's annual meeting yet. Now the things here are not completely finished. I will try to stay for a few more days to deal with the Su family and then go back to continue the mission. Otherwise, I'm also worried that something will happen to the Su family again. Su Weifeng thought for a while and said he was originally planning to go back to Galan after staying for a few days, but when he thought that he hadn't gone to the Su family yet, he was worried for a while and wanted to go there first. Of course, he had to say hello to the army first to see if they could approve it. If not, he would go to Galan first and wait a month later. When the Su family's annual meeting was held, he would come back again. Great, then Brother Su can stay at home for another month. Great, great. Lin Zhuangxuan said excitedly. I'll take you out to play during this time. Is there any place Zhuangxuan wants to go? Su Weifeng said with a smile. He wanted to spend as much time as possible with Lin Zhuangxuan and other girls during this time. There are too many places I want to go. Disney, Snow District, Kunshan. Lin Zhuangxuan said more than 10 places in one breath. Where Zhuangxuan wants to go the most. Let's rank them first. Let's go to the place we want to go the most first. Su Weifeng said with a smile. Oh, this is really a difficult question. Let me think about it. Lin Zhuangxuan frowned and couldn't make up her mind for a while. There are many places she wants to go at ordinary times. If she really wants to go, she really doesn't know where to go. She wants to go to all of them and doesn't want to give up. Zhuangsun, don't worry. Think about it slowly tomorrow. Let's go to bed first. We have been drinking for so long. If we don't rest well, we will have a headache tomorrow. Su Weifeng said with a smile. Well, go to sleep. Good night, brother Su. Lin Zhuangsun said happily, burying her head in Su Weifeng's arms, finding a comfortable position, and closing her eyes, with a sweet smile on her lips. She was excited just thinking about going out, to play with brother Su. Su Weifeng held the girl in his arms. His heart was very full, his mind was blank, and he actually entered that state at this time. Su Weifeng himself was also surprised. This time it lasted for nearly an hour before Su Weifeng woke up. He could clearly feel that his injuries had improved a lot. At this time, the girl in his arms had already fallen asleep. With so many girls healing him, his injuries had recovered a lot compared to when he just came back from the army. This kind of injury was not in the muscles, but more like in the origin, in the vitality. Even with the true key, there was no way. But now under this magical method, these injuries have obviously improved, which makes Su Weifeng confident about returning to the army after a year. The next morning, when Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangsun came to the restaurant for breakfast, the girls had already come out one after another. Teo was wearing cartoon pajamas, Feng Bao was wearing a light nightgown, Lin Zhuangsun was wearing silk pajamas, and Zhao Xiaoshu was wearing shorts, and a vest with snow white thighs, and looming breasts everywhere. Su Weifeng felt hot all over and felt overwhelmed. This blessing of having many women is not so easy to enjoy. Su Weifeng quickly suppressed the doubts in his heart with his true energy, finished his meal quickly, and ran back to his room. Haha, brother Su, I'm sorry. Teo was the first to laugh loudly. That's right, with so many beauties here, brother Su must have the feeling of running into the girls' dormitory. Zhao Xiaoshu also said with a smile. The girls burst into laughter immediately. Su Weifeng listened to the laughter behind him and couldn't help but speed up his pace. These three women are a drama, and so many women are enough for a movie. After breakfast, Lin Zhuangsun, Zhao Xiaoshu, and Sun Yumeng all went to work. The company was busy these days, otherwise they really wanted to take a few days off and spend some time with brother Su at home, but unfortunately there was no way. Feng Bao also drove her big G back to the bureau to work. She was a police officer and could do whatever she wanted like others. The discipline was still very strict. Teo didn't leave. She didn't have much to do. As a top hacker, she didn't lack money at all. Her biggest job was to play around, which was almost the same as traveling around the world. Today, she had nothing to do and could just go and play with brother Su. Just thinking about it made her happy. After everyone left, Liu King and Liu Jia were cleaning up the dishes. Teo sneaked into Su Weifeng's room. At this time, Su Weifeng was playing with his mobile phone. Seeing Teo looking like a thief, he couldn't help laughing. Teo, what are you doing? Su Weifeng suddenly shouted. Ah, me. Teo was startled by Su Weifeng's voice and was a little confused for a while. But when she saw Su Weifeng laughing, she knew that it was brother Su who was scaring her on purpose. Teo rushed over with her teeth and claws, hugged Su Weifeng, and bit him on the waist. Su Weifeng screamed in pain. The flesh on his waist was also very painful when it was bitten. After playing with Su Weifeng for a while, Teo lay lazily on Su Weifeng like a kitten. Teo, you are so heavy. Su Weifeng said deliberately. How am I heavy? Teo said and straightened her chest. Su Weifeng couldn't stand her stimulation. Teo also felt something was wrong. Her little face flushed and suddenly stopped moving. Su Weifeng suddenly thought of something and smiled evilly. Teo, did you wet the bed? Su Weifeng teased her deliberately. No, you bad guy. Teo was startled and ran to the bathroom in a hurry. Su Weifeng hurriedly used his true energy to suppress his anger. He had just been stimulated this morning, and Teo came again. This was really killing me. After a while, Tao came out of the bathroom slowly, her face still a little red. Big pervert. Tao came to Su Weifeng's side and snorted, but she didn't rush over again. She was a little embarrassed in broad daylight. She was afraid that something might go wrong. It's not that she didn't want to, there were people at home in broad daylight, and she was embarrassed, even though she had no taboos. Who is the pervert? Su Weifeng smiled evilly, and looked at Cao Cao's pajamas. Ah, I'll fight you. Cao Cao yelled, and finally couldn't help it, and rushed over again. After a while of fighting, he stopped panting. Brother Su, is Country K fun? Cao Cao suddenly said. Ah, how do you know I went to Country K? Su Weifeng frowned. He did a good job of keeping secrets, and didn't reveal his identity. He even used a fake identity when he took the plane. Cao Cao shouldn't know about it. Haha, who am I? What can you hide from me? Cao Cao smiled proudly. Chapter 962 Mysterious Auction. Tell me quickly, or I'll tell Liu King and Liu Jia about your bedwetting, and ask them to buy diapers for you. Su Weifeng said deliberately. Cao Cao puffed up her face and gritted her teeth. She was really afraid that her affairs would be known by others. Although your identity when you went abroad was changed, your name didn't change at all, and you can tell from the photo that it's you. It's too easy to know that you went to Country K. Cao Cao said proudly. There should be a lot of people named Su Weifeng in the country, and my identity is a new citizen, so there must be more than tens of thousands of information. How did you find me? You didn't look at the photos one by one, right? Su Weifeng was surprised. He didn't expect Cao Cao to find him with just a name. Of course, how can I know it's you without looking at the photos? Your identity is real, and there is no loophole at all. Cao Cao said confidently. So how many tens of thousands of photos have you looked at? Su Weifeng said in surprise with his mouth wide open. How idle is that? He looked at himself one by one. You are too low, and you have tens of thousands of photos. How long will it take me to see them? Cao Cao rolled her eyes and said with contempt. I entered your photo and name into the database and found you quickly through facial recognition. This is a piece of cake. Cao Cao said proudly. Su Weifeng's face was full of admiration. This little Lalita was too strong. He didn't expect that there was such a loophole in his identity. He really had to report it to the army, but he couldn't expose Cao Cao's identity as a top hacker. If the hacker's identity was discovered, it would be dangerous. Many forces with ulterior motives would do whatever it took to get her and use her for their own purposes. What do you think? Sister is awesome. Cao Cao looked at Su Weifeng's surprised expression and felt even more proud. Su Weifeng rolled his eyes and ignored her. He knew that if she said that now, Cao Cao would be so proud. Why are you investigating me? Be careful that the army will catch you and lock you up for life, and you will never get out again. Su Weifeng threatened Cao Cao. I just wanted to see what you were doing. Your girlfriends don't know where you've gone, but I know where you've gone. Isn't it a great sense of accomplishment? Cao Cao said proudly without being frightened. Su Weifeng was speechless. He felt a sense of accomplishment like this. His thinking was too strange. Are you leaving? Cao Cao suddenly said mysteriously. Su Weifeng was stunned. It was not strange that Lin Zhuangxuan knew that he was leaving. How could Cao Cao know that? But he was relieved soon. Cao Cao even knew his whereabouts. She also knew about his recent company affairs. It was easy for her to connect the information. It was not strange that she guessed it. This is confidential. Su Weifeng did not say it clearly. He could not casually say anything about the military mission. TSK, I know it's confidential, but can you go somewhere with me before you leave? Cao Cao said disdainfully, but then became mysterious again. Where? Su Weifeng frowned. He had promised Lin Zhuangxuan to take them out to play. He probably didn't have time to go out with Cao Cao again. If it didn't work, he could let Cao Cao go with Lin Zhuangxuan and the others. It wouldn't be a big deal. Cao Cao didn't say anything, but checked the door and the window. Seeing no one, he said mysteriously, accompany me to an auction. What kind of auction is so mysterious? Su Weifeng was also very curious. Auctions are common in China, and even held frequently in a city. There are calligraphy and paintings, antiques, jewelry, and all kinds of items. But there is nothing special about it. Why is it so mysterious? Spiritual weapon. Cao Cao uttered two words mysteriously. Su Weifeng was startled and almost choked on his own saliva. What Cao Cao said was too much. If the spiritual weapon came out, then are there gods or something? Seeing Su Weifeng's face full of disbelief, Tao Tao got anxious and said, "Brother Su, spiritual energy really exists? I have hacked into the Triangle building in the United States and read a lot of secret information. Aliens really came to Earth in the past, but they were driven away by the top strong men on Earth. It is said that the weapons used by these people are spiritual weapons." Su Weifeng laughed. "The records of those people in the United States can be trusted. They also said that they caught aliens, but in the end, it was all fabricated. There are too many such false news, which are not credible at all. Tao Tao, those things in the United States are just for fun. They are just a bunch of liars. There are no aliens." Su Weifeng said with a smile. Tao Tao was so angry. "Why don't you believe me, ignorant mortal? Brother Su, you will know, if you come with me. There are also martial arts secrets in this auction. It is said that they are also left by the top masters on Earth." Tao Tao continued to persuade. She really wanted to take a look, but the auction involving spiritual tools must be a mixed bag. It is not a safe place. Although she has strong hacking skills, she can't escape if she really encounters bad guys. That's why Tao Tao came to persuade Su Weifeng to go with her. This is to use Su Weifeng as a bodyguard. In her mind, Su Weifeng is a master who is not afraid of even the hidden family. With him, there is nothing to worry about. The martial arts secrets are left by the top masters. If it was the previous Su Weifeng, he would simply disdain it. But now that he has practiced the secrets in the White Bear Cave and really cultivated true ki, he knows that there are real secrets in this world. Thinking of this, Su Weifeng was somewhat tempted. He felt very sorry that his secret book was destroyed. Now he was very interested in this kind of secret book, but the streets were full of fake secret books, such as Tathagata Palm and 18 Dragon Subduing Palms. He found it hard to believe that there would be any real things at the auction. Where is the auction, and when will it be held? After thinking about it, Su Weifeng asked. He wanted to see the situation. If the place was not far away, he could consider going to see it, so as not to delay taking Lin Zhuangxuan and the others to play. If it was too far, forget it. This auction that sounded unreliable had a probability of getting good things close to zero. Not far, it's in Longcheng. The time is tomorrow night. I didn't know that Brother Su would come back, so I planned to hire some bodyguards. With Brother Su, I don't need to hire bodyguards. Seeing that Su Weifeng was tempted, Tao Tao said excitedly, speaking out his thoughts. Su Weifeng rolled his eyes. "It's no good if she's looking for me. She's tempting me with spiritual weapons. She just wants me to be her bodyguard. But the place is not far away. It will only take a few hours to drive there. This distance can be reached in one day. I can go there tomorrow and come back in the evening. It won't be too late to take Lin Zhuangxuan and the others out to play." Su Weifeng thought that he had already made a decision in his heart. Chapter 963 Good Benefits. "Okay, then I'll be your bodyguard," Su Weifeng said with a smile. "Long live." Tao Tao rushed over and kissed Su Weifeng hard on the face. "Being a bodyguard can't be for nothing. Don't you have to pay for labor?" Su Weifeng said with a smile. "Of course, this beautiful lady will eat and sleep with you. How about this benefit is good enough?" Tao Tao patted her chest and shouted, looking at Su Weifeng with a sly smile. "You want me to sleep with you?" Su Weifeng rolled his eyes and said, "But it's not bad to think about it. You piss me off." Tao Tao was so angry when she heard that he was not willing to sleep with her, and she rushed over again, and the two of them started fighting again. "Ha ha ha, I give in. Ceasefire, ceasefire." Tao Tao laughed loudly. She felt that she was going to make a fool of herself again, and hurriedly shouted. The two of them stopped. Tao Tao's face was already red, and the white and tender skin exposed through her pajamas was pink. Her big eyes were watery and looked very attractive. Su Weifeng couldn't help but speed up his heartbeat. He used his true ki to suppress it and slowly calmed down his mood. This little lolly with a baby face and big breasts was really a beauty. It was too much to mess with her like this. Then let's set off tomorrow morning. I'll also go to see what spiritual weapons are there at the auction of this spiritual weapon. Su Weifeng said. Don't go tomorrow. Let's go today. I haven't been to Longcheng yet. We can still have fun today. We can go directly to the auction tomorrow. Tao Tao hugged Su Weifeng's arm, put on a pitiful look, and blinked her big eyes at Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng found her look funny, and finally agreed to her. Tao Tao ran out with cheers, and went back to pack up. Su Weifeng took out his phone, and called Lin Zhuangsun. He had to say hello to Lin Zhuangsun. Brother Su, you missed me, after I've been away for such a long time. Lin Zhuangsun was very happy on the other end of the phone. Yes. Su Weifeng also said with a smile. Today, Tao Tao and I went out for a trip. Tao Tao found an auction. It's tomorrow. I will come back directly after the auction. Su Weifeng said directly. He was also afraid that Zhuangsun would be unhappy. After all, he just promised to take her out to play, but he went out again. Then when are we going out to play? Lin Zhuangsun said, a little disappointed, but not angry. He knew that Brother Su would not lie to her. I will be back the day after tomorrow, and then these few days are fine. You think about where to go first. Su Weifeng said with a smile. Okay, Brother Su, what auction are you and Tao Tao going to? Lin Zhuangsun asked doubtfully. She knew Brother Su, and seemed to be not interested in those auction items. It was nothing more than some antiques. It is said to be a spiritual artifact auction. Su Weifeng said a little embarrassedly. He didn't believe it himself. Ha ha ha. Lin Zhuangsun really laughed. Brother Su, you believe this too. However, it is understandable that Tao Tao believes this because of his childish temper. Brother Su, you believe it too. Ha ha ha. Lin Zhuangsun laughed, and Su Weifeng felt embarrassed. I don't believe it either. I just want to go and see if there is really a magic weapon that can heal my injury. Su Weifeng said casually. If that's the case, Brother Su, you really have to go. Brother Su, do you have enough money? I'll give you some from the company. When it comes to Su Weifeng's injury, Lin Zhuangsun is like a different person. He even believes in this magic weapon. If there is any chance, he doesn't want to miss it. Enough. Su Weifeng said with a smile. Now my injury has recovered by more than half. There will be no problem in the short term. Zhuangsun, don't worry about me. Su Weifeng said. After hanging up the phone, Su Weifeng also got up. He knew that Tao Tao would come back soon. With Tao Tao's temper, he couldn't wait to leave now. Su Weifeng went to the bathroom to take a shower first. He was still smelly from drinking yesterday, and he hadn't had time to wash yet. While he was taking a hot shower, the bathroom door suddenly opened, and a little head poked in. It was Tao Tao. Brother Su, are you done packing? Let's go quickly. Tao Tao said anxiously. I didn't see anything. Tao Tao found Su Weifeng bathing naked in the bathroom and said hurriedly, covering her eyes with her hands. Su Weifeng was furious when he saw Tao Tao's look. The little girl covered her eyes with her hands, but there was still a gap between her fingers. He could still see Tao Tao's eyes wide open, staring at him through the gaps between her fingers. Su Weifeng gritted his teeth, walked over, pushed Tao Tao's head out, and closed the door. Little pervert. Su Weifeng gritted his teeth and said. What a pity. It was foggy, and I couldn't see clearly. Tao Tao muttered to herself. But Su Weifeng still heard it, and was speechless for a while. What a female hooligan. The two packed up. Su Weifeng only had to clean himself up. He didn't have a backpack at all, so he didn't need to bring anything for the whole day. Tao Tao couldn't do it. She couldn't do without cosmetics and clothes. She was going out to play, so she packed a full suitcase. Su Weifeng said hello to Liu King and Liu Jia, and the two set off. This time, since it was not far, Su Weifeng drove his own X7. He couldn't drive for such a long time abroad, and his hands were a little itchy. Just afternoon, Su Weifeng and Tao Tao arrived in Langcheng, found a hotel that looked good, and went in. Hello, sir and madam. The front desk clerk greeted with a smile. Open a room for us. Su Weifeng also said with a smile. What room do you want, sir? The service staff still said enthusiastically. We want a deluxe king-size bedroom. Tao Tao shouted hurriedly, looking impatient. Su Weifeng looked at Tao Tao like that, and thought to himself, have I been fooled? Is he going to eat me? The waiter couldn't help laughing. There were many young couples who came to get a room, but there weren't many girls who were so anxious, and they were pretty girls. Su Weifeng and Tao Tao both took out their ID cards, and the waiter registered them. The management was very strict. At this time, a group of young men and women came. The man was in his 20s, fair-skinned, but very thin. His waist was only about 1.78 meters. His waist was really thinner than the girls. Su Weifeng and Tao Tao couldn't help but look at him a few more times. Tao Tao was even more surprised and used her hands to measure the width. The other girl was also in her 20s. She looked average, but her figure was very plump. Even Tao Tao was compared to her. What are you looking at? Haven't you seen handsome guys before? The young man also noticed Su Weifeng and Tao Tao's gaze and said dissatisfiedly, I've seen many handsome guys, but I've never seen such a thin man with such a waist. Tao Tao laughed and said, making the young man's nose spit fire in anger. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 964, Tao Tao's Competition. Are you looking for death? You dare to laugh at me? Do you know who I am? The young man said angrily. I don't know who you are, and I don't want to know. Su Weifeng said indifferently. After that, Su Weifeng ignored him, smiled slightly, took his ID card and room card, and walked into the elevator. Husband, don't bother with them, a pair of dogs and bitches. The girl snorted and said. After entering the elevator, Tao Tao was still chattering with Su Weifeng about the man just now, as if she had discovered a new world, very excited. Su Weifeng and Tao Tao's room number is 606. Just when they arrived at the door of the room, before they opened the door, the elevator door opened, and the couple just came out. They were on the same floor, and the two stopped next to Su Weifeng. 604. Su Weifeng was thinking in his heart, this waiter must have done it on purpose. It was too coincidental. The couple looked at Su Weifeng and Tao Tao coldly, and the two snorted coldly, and opened the door to enter the room. Tao Tao also snorted coldly, and went into the room. Su Weifeng also went into the room with a smile in his heart. After entering the room, Su Weifeng and Tao Tao both lay on the big bed. After all, they were very tired after sitting in the car for half a day. However, this big bed is quite comfortable. The two of them lay on the bed and their bodies were completely sunken into the bed. Not long after lying down, a girl's loud scream came from the next room. The sound was very strange. It was the room of the young couple just now. Tao Tao glanced at Su Weifeng, with a light in her eyes. Su Weifeng hurriedly pretended not to see it. He couldn't respond at this time. Once he responded, he couldn't stop it. Once this kind of thing happened, he couldn't stop it anymore. He couldn't suppress his desire. Then something would happen when he was with these girlfriends. Tao Tao saw Su Weifeng's reaction and felt angry, but she also knew that brother Su's physical injury had not recovered yet. Now was not the time to do such a thing. It would affect brother Su's injury. She knew that the overall situation was important. She was also angry with the couple just now, otherwise she wouldn't have thought about doing anything with brother Su. Seeing that Tao Tao seemed to have calmed down, Su Weifeng also breathed a sigh of relief. If Tao Tao continued to seduce him, or was more proactive, he might have given in. After all, the temptation of these beauties was still very strong, and he hadn't seen them for a long time, and now he seemed to be more impulsive. Ah! Tao Tao suddenly screamed loudly, and her scream was so sad and heart-wrenching. Su Weifeng was shocked for a moment. What happened to Tao Tao? He didn't touch her. Why did she react like this? But in an instant, he understood that Tao Tao was screaming on purpose to compete with the young couple. Sure enough, as Tao Tao's voice sounded, the girl's screams became louder, and her voice changed. Su Weifeng's heartbeat accelerated. Fight with me. I've watched countless movies. Watch my performance. Tao Tao muttered in a low voice, and then immediately changed the tone of voice, using the dubbing in the movies he watched, and even blended the voices of several leading actors. Su Weifeng's blood boiled when he heard it, and he couldn't suppress his true energy. He couldn't help it. Su Weifeng hurried to the bathroom to take a cold shower. The cold water poured over his head, and then the anger in his heart subsided. When he went out, it had been nearly half an hour. Teo was still panting, and the voice on the other side was just as sharp. Seeing Su Weifeng coming out, Teo said the word water in a hurry, and then continued. Su Weifeng smiled. This was thirsty for shouting, so he hurried to get Teo a large glass of water. Teo took the glass, and drank half of it in one gulp. She was really thirsty. She had been talking for so long, that her mouth was dry. She was so loud that it was good, that her throat was not hoarse. After drinking the water, Teo's fighting power was stronger, and the decibels went up, obviously overwhelmed the other side. The girl's voice gradually became smaller, and she couldn't shout anymore. Teo stopped and stretched out her hand to Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng cooperated and clapped his hands with her. Yeah. Teo shouted excitedly. Su Weifeng was speechless about her bad taste, and gave her a thumbs up. Brother Su, I'm awesome, right? Tao said very proudly. Awesome, too awesome. It's more real than the real thing. Su Weifeng said, covering his head. That's right, I've watched countless movies and thousands of blockbusters. This kind of thing is a piece of cake. Wait until your injury is healed. Tao said proudly, but as he spoke, he found that he was speaking from his heart, and his voice gradually became smaller. Do you want to sleep or go out to play now? Su Weifeng was speechless. He didn't dare to answer this question, so he had to change the subject. Go out to play, go out to play. Tao said excitedly. Where do you want to go to play? Do you have a destination? I'm not familiar with this place. Su Weifeng said casually. Let's go to Han Temple. I heard that fortune telling there is very effective. Let's go to ask for fortune. Tao said, pulling Su Weifeng's arm. This name is so familiar. Su Weifeng said with some doubt. Don't think about it. It's not the one in the ancient poem. It's just a coincidence. Tao laughed. Okay, let's go here. Su Weifeng didn't care where he went. He didn't believe in fortune telling. It was just a psychological comfort. If it was good, he would be happy for a while, but if it was bad, he would be depressed for a long time. The two drove, and followed the navigation for more than an hour to the foot of a mountain in the suburbs. There were many high mountains here, and it was unknown which mountain the Han Temple was on. The navigation ended here. There were already many people at the foot of the mountain, some preparing to go up the mountain, and some coming down from the mountain. Excuse me, how do I get to Han Temple? Su Weifeng said, holding a middle-aged man who was carrying a basket of fruit, and was about to go up the mountain. Han Temple is on this mountain. Just keep going. I'm going to Han Temple too. You can go with me. The middle-aged man said with a smile. Thank you, uncle. Tao said with a smile, looking well behaved and polite. On the way up the mountain, the middle-aged man looked at Tao and Su Weifeng, and seemed to want to say something, but he hesitated, and didn't say anything. Su Weifeng noticed it, but he didn't care. He might just want to collect some money for the guide. If he wanted to save him, he would give it to him. Su Weifeng didn't care about this kind of thing. Walking along the stone steps to the end, you can see a huge temple, which is very magnificent. The outer wall is also inlaid with glazed tiles, which is very exquisite. The three big characters of Han Temple are hung on the temple with gold stamping. There are many vendors in front of the temple, selling food and fortune telling. There are also people coming and going, which is very lively. Su Weifeng was also surprised. He thought it was a small temple when he heard the name, but he didn't expect that the incense was still very prosperous. This is it. There are many people burning incense here. Be careful when you go in. The middle-aged uncle came to sell fruits outside the temple. It can be sold much better here than at the foot of the mountain. After thanking the middle-aged uncle, Teo bought a lot of fruits from him, also to thank him. Chapter 965. Please stay. It's so lively, let's go get a fortune teller. Tao was very excited when he saw the scene, which was just like a temple fair. No, don't you believe in aliens? Why do you believe in this? Su Weifeng said speechlessly. I believe in science, and I also believe in things that science can't explain. There is no conflict. Come here quickly. Tao said proudly, pulling Su Weifeng to a fortune teller stall. Su Weifeng had no choice but to follow. Please stay. Su Weifeng and Tao were walking when they were suddenly stopped. The person who spoke was a middle-aged man with a Taoist hairstyle and a yellow monk's robe. In front of him was a white cloth with the two big words fortune telling written on it. Cao Cao stopped in surprise and looked at the middle-aged man, not knowing what was going on. Amitabha. The middle-aged man chanted a Buddhist name. Su Weifeng tried hard not to laugh out loud. This middle-aged man was too funny. If you want to wear a monk's robe, you should shave your head. Or you can wear a Taoist robe without shaving your head. This outfit is neither monk nor Taoist. It's a mix and match. Young man, are you and the little girl fortune telling? The middle-aged man smiled at Su Weifeng and Cao Cao. His smile was gentle and very friendly. Are you a monk or a Taoist? Su Weifeng said with a smile. The middle-aged man was confused by Su Weifeng's irrelevant answer, but he reacted immediately. His expression remained unchanged, and he was as calm as before. I'm both a monk and a Taoist. I take the strengths of both families and integrate Tekai Bagwa with Buddhist wisdom. I use it to help people answer questions and solve doubts, and also accumulate a share of public morality for myself. The middle-aged man said seriously. Su Weifeng's forehead was full of black lines. This guy's too unreliable. This is obviously a scam. Cao Cao didn't feel anything and thought that the middle-aged man was very powerful, and his eyes lit up. Master, can you calculate what our relationship is? Cao Cao said seriously. Let me calculate it. The middle-aged man began to pinch his fingers, muttering something, and rolled his eyes with a mysterious look. You are boyfriend and girlfriend. The middle-aged man said with a smile. But your development is not smooth. There are many obstacles. The middle-aged man frowned and continued. Su Weifeng looked at the middle-aged man with a smile, his face full of disbelief. This man and woman came to tell fortunes. 99% of them are boyfriend and girlfriend. And how can the relationship develop completely smoothly? No matter how good the relationship is, there will be quarrels. Is what the middle-aged man said completely nonsense? But Cao Cao was excited. This master calculated too accurately. Is there an obstacle between him and brother Su? There are still a lot of girlfriends, and it is almost impossible to get a result. The middle-aged man saw that the young man didn't believe it at all, so he had to start with this girl. But the master hesitated. This is playing hard to get. But what? Cao Cao asked curiously. But it's not impossible to solve it. The middle-aged man said with a struggling look. Forget it, forget it. We are destined to meet today. I will reveal some secrets and help you two lovers. The middle-aged man sighed and said. Su Weifeng was not moved at all. He watched his performance quietly on the side and felt it was quite interesting. How to solve it? Cao Cao asked hurriedly. The middle-aged man took out two braided red ropes, each with a small silver fish on it, one bigger and one smaller. This is a red thread of marriage. If you wear it respectively, you can break your obstacles and move towards a happy future. The middle-aged man said seriously. What a pity. We don't want a future, so we don't need it. Cao Cao looked regretful. Then he couldn't help laughing. Cao Cao actually found out that this master was fake a long time ago. She just thought it was fun and cooperated with the acting. Su Weifeng also laughed. He thought Cao Cao was not so easily fooled. The middle-aged man froze there for a moment, but then his face showed anger. He knew he was fooled. These two people had been watching the monkey show, and he was about to explode. But these two little fish are pretty. How much are they? Cao Cao said with a smile. She saw that the two little fish were very delicately made. Although they were not worth much, they were quite fun. Moreover, they were a pair, just right for brother Su, and I to wear one each. This is made of Tibetan mithril. The red string is soaked in black dog blood and sterilized at high temperature. It can not only increase marriage, but also ward off evil spirits. This is a rare good thing. Since you really like it, I will sell it to the right person. I won't ask for more. It was originally 1000 yuan for one, so I will buy one and give one free, 1000 yuan for two. The middle-aged man saw that Cao Cao liked the red string fish, and his eyes lit up immediately. He didn't care that he had just been fooled. He turned into a salesperson and introduced it enthusiastically. Brother Su, how about we each buy one? Cao Cao said tentatively. She didn't know if brother Su was willing to wear this thing. Okay, then I'll buy it. Su Weifeng said with a smile, and directly transferred the payment to the middle-aged man. Teo happily took the 2 marriage fish, wearing the small one on her wrist and the big one on Su Weifeng's wrist. The more she looked at them, the more she liked them. She felt happy in her heart, as if they were a token of love. The middle-aged man was dumbfounded. Why were these 2 people so happy? The 2 red rope fish were less than 100 yuan each, and they didn't even blink an eye at 1000 yuan. It was too low, and I guess they could buy them at a higher price. These were 2 fat sheep. At the same time, he was also considering whether to give up fortune telling in the future and just sell the marriage red rope directly. This was much easier than fortune telling. Teo happily took Su Weifeng's hand and walked into the temple. Today was so happy. There was one more memory with brother Su, which was definitely something that other girls didn't have. After entering the gate of the temple, there was a courtyard. In the middle of the courtyard was a huge cast iron incense burner. Many pilgrims burned incense here, making the whole courtyard full of smoke. Tao also went to ask for some incense sticks and worshipped devoutly, muttering something. Su Weifeng didn't believe it and just watched with a smile. It was rare to see Tao so serious, and he couldn't help but laugh. Suddenly, Su Weifeng felt a pair of eyes staring at him. This was his 6th sense, and he felt someone was watching him, but there was no sense of danger, and there should be no malice. Su Weifeng looked around and found an elderly monk near the inside through the smoke, who was looking at him. His face was calm, but his eyes were very mysterious, as if he was seeing through him. When the old monk saw Su Weifeng looking over, he smiled faintly and walked inside. Su Weifeng frowned, not knowing what was going on with this monk, but a voice in his heart told him to chase him. Su Weifeng did chase him. He wanted to see why the old monk was looking at him so mysteriously. He shouldn't be a liar master here, Su Weifeng thought. Chapter 966, Key Refiner. The old monk seemed to be walking slowly, but Su Weifeng could not catch up with him for a while, and always kept a distance of more than 20 meters. Su Weifeng's heart moved. This old monk was indeed not an ordinary person. He must catch up with him. Thinking of this, Su Weifeng quickened his pace, but still could not catch up with the old monk. After turning 7 or 8 times, the old monk entered a Zen room. Su Weifeng breathed a sigh of relief. This time he could finally catch up. Su Weifeng also hurried a few steps and entered the Zen room. Sure enough, the old monk was in the Zen room. At this time, he was sitting on a stone bench. On the stone table in front of him were a teapot and 2 teacups. The tea in the teacups was still steaming. The old monk stretched out his hand and motioned Su Weifeng to sit down. Su Weifeng knew that this was a master, so he hurriedly sat down and became respectful to the old monk. "Master, what is the meaning of you leading me here?" Su Weifeng asked doubtfully. He knew that the old monk deliberately led him here, otherwise, with the old monk's speed, he could not catch up with him at all. "It's fate that you can meet me, a key refiner," the old monk said with a smile. When he said the last word, Su Weifeng was suddenly stunned. What did the old monk say I was? A key refiner? What kind of title is this? Su Weifeng was a little confused for a moment. "Master, what is a key refiner?" Su Weifeng asked with a confused look on his face. "You don't know a key refiner?" the old monk asked doubtfully. He was also a little skeptical. Could it be that he was wrong? This young man was not a key refiner. Su Weifeng shook his head, still with a confused look on his face. He really had never heard of this title. Could it be related to the technique he practiced? The more he thought about it, the more possible it was. He couldn't help but get excited. Could he know the origin of his technique today? The old monk quickly made a move and grabbed Su Weifeng's wrist. Su Weifeng was caught by the old monk because he was not prepared. Su Weifeng was also shocked. He did not expect the old monk to move so quickly, but he did not feel any killing intent from the old monk. Su Weifeng knew that the old monk had no hostility towards him and should want to confirm his identity. Thinking of this, Su Weifeng did not dodge and let the old monk explore the true key in his body. However, Su Weifeng still wrapped the purple true key in his danchan tightly with his own true key, fearing that it would be discovered by the old monk. After all, this old monk also saw it for the first time and was not sure whether he had any malicious intentions. Moreover, he knew that the purple true key must be something extraordinary. Even if the old monk had no malicious intentions, it was hard to guarantee that he would not have any malicious intentions after seeing the purple true key. It was better to be careful. After a long time, the old monk let go of Su Weifeng's wrist. It seemed that he had confirmed something, and his eyes were full of surprise. Refine essence into key. It is indeed refine essence into key. I never thought I could meet a key cultivator after all these years. The old monk laughed. Master, what are you talking about? What is this key cultivator? Su Weifeng asked in confusion. It's really strange. It's not easy for you to practice the innate key to a small success. You don't even know what a key cultivator is. The old monk said in disbelief. I got a broken secret book in a white bear's cave, and then I cultivated the key, Su Weifeng said with a wry smile. He had all the skills, but he didn't know what he was practicing, let alone where it came from. This was quite depressing. Su Weifeng knew that the old monk must know the origin of his martial arts, and he knew much more than he did, so there was no need for him to hide it from him. The old monk was even more shocked after hearing what Su Weifeng said. You should know that the training method of this key refiner is extremely demanding on the body. Even people who have practiced martial arts since childhood may not be able to bear the pain of practicing key. Generally, key refiners have to use elixirs prepared by their masters to assist them and improve their physical strength before they can get started. This kid actually picked up a secret book in the bear cave and practiced it to a small level, and it was still an incomplete secret book. If the former key refiners knew about this, they would be so angry that they would come back to life. This is something that requires such excellent talent and perseverance to do. The old monk was amazed. You suffered a lot when you first practiced, right? The old monk said kindly. At that time, I really felt that I was worse than death every day. After practicing this body refining technique every day, my body felt like it was torn apart. Participating in the training in the army was simply a pleasure. No matter how hard and tiring the project was, it was heaven compared to practicing this body refining technique. Su Weifeng recalled the painful memories at that time and said with a painful look on his face, no wonder the soldiers of the original country have such tenacious perseverance. The old monk also showed admiration. He also experienced that special period and had deep respect for our soldiers. Master, are you also a key refiner? Su Weifeng asked doubtfully. He thought that, since the old monk could understand this key refiner, maybe he was one too. Well, I used to be one, but my meridians were severely damaged in the war, and I'm no longer a key refiner. The old monk said with some regret. Master is also a patriot. I admire you. Su Weifeng knew that there had been no war in the country for a long time. If we talk about war, it was that special period. The old man must have been injured at that time. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but admire him. It's fate that you met me today. I think your chance of meeting a key refiner again is very slim. The old monk said with a smile. Master, what exactly is a key refiner? Please teach me. Su Weifeng said respectfully. This is a senior who deserves his respect. The story of Qigong practitioners started in the pre-Qin period. At that time, the king of Qin sent people to look for the elixir of life. At that time, it was not only the king of Qin who wanted to live forever, who didn't want to live forever. At that time, there were not only warriors in the world, but also Qigong practitioners. These Qigong practitioners are similar to the Taoists of today, but they are completely different. The old monk took a sip of tea to moisten his throat, and then said, the perception of Taoist practice is to communicate with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, which generally relies on external objects. Qigong practitioners practice spiritual energy, the innate spiritual energy formed when the world was first created, which is also called innate true qi in the body. When the innate true qi is cultivated, it can be regarded as the entry of Qigong practitioners, reaching the level of refining essence into qi. The old monk continued. After practicing to an extremely high level, you will practice the innate spiritual body, also called the innate holy body, and then you can reach the realm of longevity pursued by the ancients. But these are all legends, and I have never heard of anyone who has really reached that level. The old monk smiled bitterly when he said this. He himself didn't know whether this level existed or was just people's beautiful imagination. So have I entered the stage of key training now? What is the next level after becoming a key trainer? Su Weifeng saw the old monk stop and hurriedly asked the question in his mind. Chapter 967 Level Division. In ancient times, the levels of Qigong practitioners were from low to high, such as refining essence into Qi, refining Qi into spirit, etc. However, in order to simplify and better compare with the levels of warriors, they were divided into 4 major levels: heaven, earth, black and yellow. There were also levels above heaven, but that was a legend. The old monk said seriously. Although the levels of Qigong practitioners and warriors are unified, their strengths are not the same. Qigong practitioners of the same level completely suppress warriors of the same level. Qigong practitioners are invincible at the same level. Although Qigong practitioners are similar to warriors to a certain extent, they all cultivate their own Qi and apply this Qi to their bodies to fight. But warriors only cultivate internal strength, which is the Qi produced when a person's essence, Qi and spirit are strong. Qigong practitioners cultivate innate spiritual energy, draw the spiritual energy of heaven and earth into their bodies, and crush the internal strength of the same level in terms of quality and strength. The old monk continued. Your current strength should be considered the peak of the first stage, that is, the peak of the yellow level, and your actual combat power is equivalent to that of a black level warrior. So that's what happened. This time Su Weifeng had a general idea. It was completely different to have someone to guide and figure it out by yourself. Even if you think hard for a year, you won't understand these things. Today was really worthwhile. Then can a black level warrior use internal force to achieve a sharp effect, and I can do it at the yellow level, and only a ground level warrior can have internal force out of the body, so can I do it at the black level? Su Weifeng's mind turned quickly, looking for any other questions, and took this opportunity to ask questions quickly. Suddenly he thought of the air cannon he had just practiced. It is indeed the case. Internal force and true Qi have many of the same characteristics. A black level Qi cultivator can achieve the effect of a ground level warrior's internal force out of the body. The difference between them lies in this origin. A black iron sword and an ordinary sword have the same basic usage. The difference is only in the essence. The old monk explained very patiently. Does the Qi have color? For example, other colors? Su Weifeng finally asked the question that puzzled him the most. Although he was worried about the secret being leaked, he really didn't know when he would meet someone who understood Qi refiners, except this old monk. Of course it has color. Have you ever encountered this kind of Qi with color? The old monk looked at Su Weifeng in confusion. He didn't expect him to ask this question. This was no longer a basic introduction. When I was abroad, I saw someone cut out purple jade in a gambling stone field. The jade exuded a kind of Qi. I felt it was very similar to Qi. I wonder if it is the same thing as the Qi of our Qi refiners? Su Weifeng said half truthfully. What? The old monk stood up suddenly, and the tea on the table spilled out. When Su Weifeng saw the old monk's reaction, he knew that he had made the right bet. This purple Qi must be extraordinary. Did you absorb it into your body? The old monk grabbed Su Weifeng's wrist and asked anxiously. At the same time, he was also exploring. However, he had no true Qi. He was only exploring with his perception. He could only sense the normal true Qi in Su Weifeng's body, and could not sense the purple true Qi wrapped by Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng secretly rejoiced in his heart. Fortunately, the old monk had no true Qi, otherwise his purple true Qi might have been discovered. Can that be absorbed into the body? What is it? Su Weifeng asked, pretending to be puzzled. The old monk smiled bitterly and sat down on the chair dejectedly. You missed a great opportunity. That is purple spiritual energy. But it is also true that you don't have a transformation method and you can't turn it into your own thing. The old monk sighed and said, as if he was talking to Su Weifeng, and seemed to be talking to himself. Su Weifeng was confused when he heard it. What transformation method? Can't it be absorbed into the body? Think about it, there is really such a possibility. The purple true Qi he absorbed is not used by himself at all. What does this mean, Master? You have to tell me what opportunity I missed. I must not miss it again next time I meet it. Su Weifeng said with a look of regret. Let me popularize the basics for you. It is not easy for you to figure it out by yourself. The old monk sighed and said. When Su Weifeng heard that the old monk was going to talk about the key points, he sat up straight and stared at the old monk, fearing that he would miss a word. Seeing Su Weifeng's serious look, the old monk nodded with satisfaction. With such a studious student, the teacher also had motivation to teach. When the world was first created, there were all kinds of spiritual energy in the world, and the spiritual energy was divided into red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple according to concentration and strength. Red was the lowest level, and purple was the highest level of spiritual energy. The old monk told the story, as if he was telling a myth. Why is there no white true energy? My true energy is white. Su Weifeng said puzzledly. Haha, of course I know your true ki is white. Not only you, but most of the remaining ki refiners have white true ki. Do you know why? The old monk asked with a smile, as if he was teaching a student. Su Weifeng shook his head subconsciously. How could he know? He even heard of ki refiners for the first time today. In the beginning, when the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was rich, the spiritual energy refined by ki refiners was also of all colors. The true ki formed by refining different colored spiritual energy was also of this color, but later the spiritual energy in the world dissipated, and the colored spiritual energy had almost dissipated, leaving only the thin white spiritual energy. This was not considered mainstream at the time, when the spiritual energy was rich, and no ki refiners would refine this white spiritual energy. But now colored spiritual energy is impossible to find, so later ki refiners began to refine this white spiritual energy, and the true ki they cultivated was white. The old monk continued to explain. But these colored spiritual energy are not completely dissipated. Some colored spiritual energy is preserved for special reasons. For example, the gambling stones you see are actually purple spiritual energy preserved in the jade, and the stone shell is wrapped outside, so it is preserved. But this situation is hard to come by. The old monk sighed and said, then if I encounter this colored spiritual energy in the future, can I use the method of cultivating true ki to absorb it into my body? Su Weifeng asked the key question again. Absorbing it into the body is only the first step, just to prevent it from dissipating. Hearing this, Su Weifeng became nervous. The next step should be the most important part. Su Weifeng's hands under the table began to tremble. The second and most important step is to assimilate these colored true ki with your own white true ki, so that it can completely become your own true ki. The result of assimilation is that the lower level is assimilated by the higher level. For example, if you absorb purple true ki, then after assimilation, the true ki in your body will all become purple true ki. After the assimilation is successful, the ordinary true ki you cultivate in the future will also be automatically assimilated into this colored true ki. However, the conversion rate from low level to high level true ki is very low. The higher the level of purple true ki, the lower the conversion rate. Chapter 968, Become a Disciple. Then how do I assimilate it? Su Weifeng asked hurriedly. This time, he finally understood why he couldn't use the purple true ki. It's not true ki now, it should be called spiritual ki. Only after it is refined into his own can it be called true ki. I don't know this either. Only some great ki refiners have this transformation method. After all, this opportunity is 1 in 10,000. How can you be so lucky? The old monk sighed. Then it will be useless, even if I encounter this kind of colored spiritual ki in the future. Su Weifeng was also very disappointed after hearing this. He didn't expect that this was not just as simple as absorbing it into the body. The main step of converting it into his own true ki was simply impossible. He was so happy for a long time. In fact, there is another way. The old monk saw Su Weifeng's lost look and sighed, but he seemed very entangled and didn't want to say it. Is there any other way? Su Weifeng felt that there was no hope, but suddenly he said there was another way, and his eyes lit up. You'd better not consider this method. This method is also a legend. No one has really done it. The old monk said reluctantly. He really didn't want to tell the young man that this might harm him. You know that, whether it is internal force or true ki, when it is first cultivated, it is stored in the danshan. Only when it is cultivated to a certain degree will it spread throughout the body. Your true ki should have spread throughout the body now, right? The old monk said seriously. Yes, it doesn't need to be stored in the danshan now. Su Weifeng nodded and replied. He really didn't pay attention to the problem of where the true ki was before. After listening to the old monk, it was indeed the case. After the colored spiritual energy is absorbed into the body, it is incompatible with the ordinary true Qi in your body. It will hide in your Danshan. At this time, if you destroy your Danshan, the colored spiritual energy will have no place to hide, and it will slowly dissipate. The colored spiritual energy is spiritual. In order not to dissipate, it will actively merge with the true Qi in your body and assimilate them, so as to achieve the purpose of assimilation. But the disadvantages are also obvious. One is that your Danshan is useless, and you can no longer absorb colored spiritual energy. Another is that self-destruction of the Danshan may not be able to successfully assimilate. If you are not careful, you will die. The old monk finished speaking in one breath, and he was relieved. Su Weifeng also swallowed his saliva. This method is really radical. If it fails, you will die. He asked himself if he dared to try the second method. He was not sure. After all, he was already very powerful with his true Qi. If he coveted this colored true Qi and played himself to death, it would be embarrassing. What is the success rate of this method? Su Weifeng was still unwilling to give up. He thought about it and asked again. This method is still a legend, and I haven't heard of anyone using it. The old monk replied. So, even if there are Qi refiners now, they all have white Qi, and there are no Qi refiners with colored Qi at all? Su Weifeng guessed. Not necessarily. After all, when martial arts practice reaches a certain level, the lifespan will increase. It is possible that there are great Qi refiners who have survived to this day. There are also some great Qi refiners who may have stored some colored spiritual energy in their inheritance, which can allow the younger generation to practice colored Qi when they first enter the sect. This is also possible. The old monk thought for a while and said, Su Weifeng now deeply knows that, whether it is a martial artist or a Qi refiner, those who have a sect inheritance are different from those who don't. He has to suffer a lot and luck to practice ordinary white Qi, while those who have inheritance may have colored Qi as soon as they practice, and they also have the assistance of elders during the practice process, so they don't have to suffer so much. It's better for you to know this method. Don't use it. The cost is too high. It's not worth it. You are so young now. Your true Qi is already very strong. If you practice steadily like this, you will definitely achieve something, and it should be no problem to reach the ground level. The old monk said earnestly. He was really worried that this young man would be too ambitious and destroy his own Danshan when he had such an opportunity in the future, which would destroy himself. That would be a pity. Well, this method is really too risky. I really don't dare to use it. Su Weifeng laughed at himself. Seeing Su Weifeng's look, the old monk was also relieved. Think about it. Normal people would make the same choice. Master, thank you so much today. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't even know what to practice. Is there anything I can do for you? Su Weifeng said solemnly. He really wanted to do something for the master. These were simply too important to him. The old monk was like his enlightenment teacher. Are you willing to worship me as your teacher? The old monk suddenly looked at Su Weifeng and said very seriously, welcome you as my master? Su Weifeng was a little surprised. He didn't expect that the old monk wanted to take him as his disciple. My sect is called the Gods and Demons sect. It is also a very old sect of Qi refining masters. However, it withered in the later period. Now I'm the only one left in the sect. The sect's classics have been lost. I have also lost all my skills and become a useless person. You will get nothing by taking me as your master. Instead, you will shoulder the task of revitalizing my Gods and Demons sect. At least it will prevent my Gods and Demons sect from disappearing. Are you willing to take me as your master? The old monk said seriously, and then stared straight at Su Weifeng, his eyes full of expectation. Su Weifeng was a little embarrassed. It's not that he couldn't take the old monk as his master. Just based on the old monk's patient teaching to him just now, he could be regarded as Su Weifeng's enlightenment teacher. Moreover, Su Weifeng didn't have any sect inheritance now, but the old monk was a monk. He didn't want to be a monk. He had so many girlfriends, and he couldn't be pure and desireless. Alas, young man, don't take it to heart. In this case, it's just a name without substance. It's understandable. The old monk sighed and said with a wry smile. He knew that he couldn't teach the young man anything. The young man had already gone a long way on the road of Qi refining. It would be useless to worship him as a master. Master, it's not that I don't want to worship you as a master. It's just that I have a girlfriend and can't be a monk. Su Weifeng said with a bitter face. The master was stunned and then showed a look of surprise. Young man, you are wrong. I'm not a monk. I just have no place to go after I was injured and lost all my power, so I live in this temple. It's convenient to go in and out in a monk's robe. The old monk explained hurriedly. Su Weifeng suddenly picked up the teacup and knelt down, performing a disciple's salute. Master, please accept your disciple's worship. Su Weifeng said solemnly. Okay, good disciple, get up quickly. The old monk hurriedly helped Su Weifeng up, laughing at the same time, and his eyes were a little wet. Su Weifeng sighed in his heart. He knew that his newly worshipped master was under too much pressure. An entire sect of key refining masters was under the pressure of him alone. The day he died, the sect would be destroyed. He did not dare to die. Chapter 969 Evil Spirit. When Su Weifeng stood up again, he was already a disciple of the gods and demons sect. He was also infected by the old monk's emotions and felt an invisible pressure in his heart. Disciple, I'm too excited. I haven't told you my name yet, and I don't know your name. Remember that my name is Gaozan. The old monk looked at Su Weifeng with a kind look in his eyes. Su Weifeng's head was black. This surname is really rare, but it becomes a dog killer with this name, which is still very interesting. Master, my name is Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng also hurriedly said. Disciple, remember that your identity as a member of the gods and demons sect must be kept secret, otherwise it will bring you a lot of trouble. The old monk said seriously. Do we have many enemies in the gods and demons sect? Su Weifeng asked doubtfully. Seeing that his master looked kind, he didn't seem like someone who would make enemies everywhere. Our Shensha sect is not an ordinary sect of Kigan practitioners, but a sect of assassins. All of them are assassins, specializing in sniping warriors and masters of Kigan. During the heyday of our Shensha sect, all masters were terrified when they heard the name of our Shensha sect. The old monk's eyes lit up when he said this, and he was obviously very proud of his sect. This time Su Weifeng was completely dumbfounded. He thought his sect was in decline, but he didn't expect it to be a very famous assassin sect. How many top warriors must have been provoked? It seems that he has stepped into a pit when he became a disciple this time. Why didn't the old monk say it earlier? How could I become a disciple if he had said it earlier? Su Weifeng's mouth trembled a little. The old monk seemed to see Su Weifeng's reaction, and he was a little embarrassed. Indeed, if it was before, the Shensha sect was well known, and it was a great opportunity to accept anyone as a disciple, but now the Shensha sect is a hot potato. Whoever takes it will be unlucky. Disciple, I'm not hiding anything from you. It's just that the identity of the Shensha sect is special. Before you enter our Shensha sect, I can't let you know too much. After all, it concerns the survival of the Shensha sect. The old monk was afraid that Su Weifeng would misunderstand, so he explained seriously. Master, don't worry too much. I'm now a disciple of the Shensha sect. I will naturally promote our sect in the future. But I'm a soldier and cannot be a killer. Su Weifeng thought for a while and said that he also had his own bottom line. Even if he had a sect inheritance, the country was still the most important, and he would always be a soldier of the country. Ha, disciple, you can rest assured about this. Our Shensha sect is no longer the Shensha sect it used to be. It is now an ordinary sect of key refiners. By my generation, it is no longer a sect of killers. It will not have any impact on you, the old monk said with a smile. After hearing his words, Su Weifeng was relieved. Disciple, take off your shirt, the old monk suddenly said. Su Weifeng was stunned. Why did he have to take off his clothes when he became a disciple? Although our Shensha sect has fallen and the martial arts have been lost, we still have a token of our leader. This is a sect's treasure, which can stimulate the evil spirit in our disciples and make their true ki have evil spirit. The old monk said proudly. Is evil spirit the murderous spirit? Su Weifeng smiled in his heart. He already had murderous spirit in him and didn't need to stimulate it. Evil spirit is different from murderous spirit. Murderous spirit is an invisible substance. Many murderers and even butchers have murderous spirit. It is the breath that is contaminated on the body when killing. When the murderous intention arises again, the murderous spirit will automatically emanate, and people with sensitive perception will feel it. But evil spirit can be attached to true energy or internal strength, which can disrupt the enemy's mind and make your true energy more powerful. However, evil spirit is not so easy to cultivate. One must kill a large number of living beings, or practice hard in a special environment, such as an ancient battlefield, in order to cultivate evil spirit. And the treasure of our sect has been buried in the ancient battlefield for hundreds of years, and is contaminated with a huge amount of murderous spirit. It can input part of the murderous spirit into the human body, and stimulate this murderous spirit, turning it into evil spirit. The old monk explained to Su Weifeng seriously. Su Weifeng then realized that there was an upgraded version of murderous aura, that is, tangible evil aura. He also wanted to know what it felt like to have evil aura. Su Weifeng acted decisively, and took off his shirt directly, waiting to see how the old monk's treasure could produce evil aura. The old monk took out a cloth bag from his arms. This was something he had always carried with him, which showed how much he valued this thing. Su Weifeng looked at the yellowed cloth bag in the old monk's hand. The cloth bag was full of traces of time. He didn't know what was in it. The old monk opened the cloth bag, and took out a fist-sized black stone from it. There was an ancient seal character engraved on the front door of the stone. Is this the treasure of the God and Evil sect? No matter how you look at it, it looks like a stone picked up from somewhere. Su Weifeng felt disappointed. The apprentice will feel some pain, but bear it. The old monk shouted and printed the black stone on the position of Su Weifeng's heart. The old monk urged his inner strength to stimulate the black stone. The black stone suddenly lit up and gradually emitted a red light, but that was all. Su Weifeng wanted to feel what it felt like to be infused with murderous energy, but after waiting for a long time, the black stone only lit up and there was no feeling. Su Weifeng couldn't help but wonder if it had been infused with murderous energy. The old monk was sweating. He had already discovered that something was wrong. He had accepted an apprentice before. When he infused murderous energy into his apprentice, he could clearly feel the murderous energy gushing out of the black stone, but this time there was no reaction at all. Although he was no longer a key refiner, he had cultivated his inner strength through hard training over the years, so it was impossible for him not to be able to activate the black stone. Suddenly, the old monk thought of a serious problem. This problem seemed to be caused by the black stone. That is, the murderous aura of the black stone seemed to have been used up. Yes, the black stone had been in the Shensha sect for hundreds of years. It had been used to infuse the disciples with true ki, and it was also volatilized. It was very likely that it had been used up. Su Weifeng was surprised. Suddenly, he felt that the black stone was getting hotter and hotter, and it was getting redder and redder. It was like a branding iron imprinted on his chest. The old monk's palm loosened involuntarily, and the black stone seemed to be stuck to Su Weifeng's chest, just hanging there. It's broken. Every time the black stone is used, it will automatically stimulate the murderous aura in the body for conversion. This time, there seems to be no murderous aura in the black stone, but the conversion has also been activated. You don't have murderous aura in your body. I don't know what will happen. The old monk said anxiously. He was really anxious, but he was helpless. He knew that every time this treasure was used, it would not end without success. Of course, if it failed, it would explode and die. Chapter 970 Tao Tao was arrested. Su Weifeng cursed the old monk countless times in his heart. This cheap master was too deceptive and unreliable. He gave him this treasure when it was unusable. Isn't this going to kill him? Su Weifeng felt a burning pain in his chest. He gritted his teeth and injured it. Sweat began to appear on his head. As time went by, the black stone seemed to melt. The pain in Su Weifeng's chest also increased significantly. Su Weifeng couldn't help but yelled. Suddenly, the old monk felt that Su Weifeng's body exuded a strong murderous aura from the inside out, which made the old monk's hair stand up, and his back felt cold, and cold sweat came out. The old monk looked at Su Weifeng in amazement. He knew that this was not the murderous aura in the black stone, but Su Weifeng's own murderous aura. This was more than the murderous aura that the black stone infused into his disciples every time. How many people had his disciple killed? The old monk was puzzled. He didn't know that Su Weifeng was also the leader of a famous mercenary organization in between fighting for his country. The murderous aura on his body was no less than those generals in ancient times. Su Weifeng felt that the black stone seemed to be very excited. A huge suction force sucked all the murderous aura on his body back into his body. Then, the murderous aura seemed to be squeezed by a pair of big hands. The volume became smaller and smaller, while the density became greater and greater. Su Weifeng's mind suddenly went blank. This time he was not in a state of recovering from his injuries, but he lost consciousness due to the influence of the black stone. When Su Weifeng opened his eyes again, they were blood red, and a murderous aura burst out. This was different from the ordinary murderous aura, but more ancient and desolate. The old monk was excited, and he didn't care about the black stone that had fallen to the ground and shattered into pieces. He only had his disciple in his eyes. He knew that his disciple had succeeded, and this murderous aura was unprecedented in the sect. This should be related to his own powerful murderous aura. There is a difference between the murderous aura that is infused and the murderous aura that is his own. Disciple, do you feel the murderous aura in your body? The old monk asked excitedly. I didn't feel the murderous aura, but my true ki turned red. Could it be that the murderous aura can turn my true ki into colored true ki? Su Weifeng said puzzledly. He had discovered the changes in his body. The colorless true ki around him turned red, but the colored true ki in his danshan did not change at all. Ha ha ha, this is normal. Evil spirit can be contaminated with true ki. No matter what color true ki is, it will turn red when it is contaminated with evil spirit, just like dying. But the essence of true ki isn't changed. It is still the original level, and the color changes just appearance. Try attaching true ki to your hand. The old monk was very happy. He thought that his newly accepted apprentice was going to be killed by him, but he didn't expect that the result would be better than expected. Su Weifeng was pleasantly surprised. If evil spirit is a strong dye, then if he can really assimilate purple true ki, it will still look red on the outside. This is the best disguise. Red is the lowest level of red true ki in colored true ki, so it will not attract other people's attention. However, this is just a thought. Su Weifeng is still far away from purple true ki. Su Weifeng attached the true ki to his palm, and suddenly a blood red light appeared on his palm, which was breathtaking. Good great evil spirit, it is really evil spirit. Although the old monk already knew the result, he was still excited when he saw it with his own eyes. Oh, Teo. Su Weifeng finally remembered that he came to chase the old monk, but Teo didn't know that he had been with the old monk for a long time. Teo must be very anxious if she couldn't find him. Huh? What Teo? The old monk asked in confusion. I came here with my friend. I just came to chase the master and forgot about her. Now she must be looking for me everywhere. Su Weifeng said hurriedly. You look anxious. It must be your girlfriend. When you find her, you must bring her to me. The old monk said with a smile. He had no children. Su Weifeng's apprentice was like his son. Naturally, he was very concerned about his apprentice's happiness. After saying goodbye to the old monk, Su Weifeng hurried out to find Teo. Su Weifeng took out his phone and called Teo, but found that the other party's phone was turned off. Su Weifeng couldn't help but frowned. Teo's phone never left her body, and it would never be out of power. How could it be turned off? When Su Weifeng went to chase the old monk, Teo was still burning incense. When she put the incense into the incense burner and wanted to pull Su Weifeng into the hall, she found that Su Weifeng was gone. Teo looked everywhere and was a little anxious. She thought Su Weifeng went in first, so she went inside to look for him. She searched all the halls, but still couldn't find Su Weifeng. Teo gradually came to the back of the temple, and then she found that there was a temple behind the temple. The location here is relatively remote, and it is really difficult for normal pilgrims to come in to worship Buddha. It's hard to find this place. She also went around all the temples before coming here. Just as she was about to enter here, a monk in a monk's robe came out. Although this monk was wearing a monk's robe, he was greasy and fat, and looked very different from other monks. Teo couldn't help but take a second look. Are you looking for someone? The fat monk said to Teo with a smile, looking very kind. Tao didn't care, thinking that the food of monks nowadays is really good. When he saw that he knew he was looking for someone, his eyes lit up immediately. It seemed that he had found the right place. Yes, looking for my friend. Master, have you seen him? Cao Cao asked anxiously. Is it a young man? The fat monk said with a smile, but he sneered in his heart. Seeing the anxious look of the girl, it must be a young couple. This is too easy to guess. Yes, master, you have seen him. Cao Cao immediately became energetic and said excitedly, the male donor is visiting my house. I left in a hurry just now and forgot to inform the donor. Donor, please follow me, the fat monk said with a smile, and then walked to the back. Cao Cao didn't doubt it and followed the fat monk closely until he stopped in front of a shabby looking house, and then the fat monk stopped, opened the door, and motioned Cao Cao to come in. Cao Cao ran into the room and found something wrong. There was only a bed and the rest were sundries. There was no trace of Su Weifeng. The room didn't look like a place for people to live, but more like a warehouse. Cao Cao thought it was not good. He wanted to run out without thinking too much. Before he turned around, a handkerchief covered his mouth and nose. Cao Cao realized that it was an anesthetic. It was too late to hold his breath. He lost consciousness in a few seconds. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 971. Crazy. Boss Huang has new stock. This time it's 10,000. The fat monk was talking on the phone with someone else. Master, we agreed that it's 5,000 each time. Why did you raise the price so easily? Boss Huang on the phone seemed very dissatisfied. Boss Huang, this is different from the previous ones. It's a top quality one. It's a little lolly. The figure is even better. It's guaranteed to be worth the money. The fat monk said obscenely, staring at Cao Cao. If it wasn't for selling more money, he couldn't help it. Then I'll go and take a look first. If it's not worth the price, I won't give it to you. Boss Huang said doubtfully. Boss Huang, come quickly. It will be troublesome if your family comes to find you if you're late. The fat monk said with a smile. Less than half an hour later, a burly man in a suit with a big gold chain came to the warehouse. Boss Huang, take a look. Is it worth the price? The fat monk pointed at Cao Cao on the bed and smiled obscenely. It's worth it. It's really worth it. When Boss Huang saw Cao Cao, his eyes glowed green and his saliva was about to flow out. He had also seen countless women, and this one was absolutely the best. If the fat monk hadn't been here, he would have pounced on her now. Here, keep the door for me. Don't let anyone come looking for us. Boss Huang threw a stack of red tickets to the fat monk and said excitedly. Don't worry, Boss Huang, this is not the first time. Even if someone comes looking for us, we will say that the person may have been lost. After all, the mountain is so big. This is also normal. And this drug is imported. This little girl will not remember what happened when she wakes up. Ha 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 ha. The fat monk laughed. After the fat monk finished speaking, he turned around and left the room and closed the door. When he looked up, he saw a young man walking not far away. It was Su Weifeng who was looking for Cao Cao. He also searched all over the temple and came here. What's the matter, donor? The fat monk took the initiative to greet him and said with a smile. I'm here to find my friend, a girl. Su Weifeng described Cao Cao's appearance and height. When Su Weifeng raised his hand, the red string fish was hanging on his wrist. The fat monk had seen the same one on Cao Cao's hand. When he saw the red string fish on Su Weifeng's hand, he instantly understood that the girl the young man was looking for was in the house. The fat monk didn't expect that the girl's family would come so quickly. His face froze, but he immediately returned to a smiling look. Donor, this is the temple sundries area. Your friends won't come here. Will your friends go down the mountain first, because they can't find you? The fat monk said with a smile. If it was normal, if a monk said this, Su Weifeng might believe it, but just now, when the fat monk looked at the red string fish on his wrist, he was stunned for a moment. Although it was only a moment, through the psychology of micro expressions, Su Weifeng knew that he must have seen an identical one, and the look just now was that he was afraid of being discovered, so he must have something to do with the disappearance of the fish. The fat monk had just finished speaking, but the young man did not leave. He was a little angry in his heart. He was so ignorant. If he did not leave, he would be easily discovered if he made any noise inside. Thinking of this, the fat monk walked towards Su Weifeng, and his hand had already grabbed the handkerchief in his sleeve. Suddenly, Su Weifeng stepped over the fat monk and rushed towards the door that the fat monk had just walked out of. The fat monk was startled. Before he could react, Su Weifeng had already arrived in front of the door and kicked it with one foot. The door broke away from the door frame and fell down. Who? Boss Huang in the room was taking off Cao Cao's clothes. He also heard the conversation between Su Weifeng and the fat monk outside, so he tried to slow down his movements as much as possible to avoid making any noise, but he didn't expect the door to fall suddenly and scared him. When Su Weifeng saw a wretched man trying to take off Cao Cao's clothes and his coat had been unbuttoned, he immediately knew what was going on. He was furious and exuded murderous intent all over his body. This was also the reason why he had just obtained the evil spirit and had not yet mastered it. Su Weifeng stepped in front of Boss Huang and slapped him away. Boss Huang felt a buzzing in one ear and 2 teeth popped out of his mouth. "Boy, you dare to hit me. Do you know who I am? You are dead." Boss Huang's words were a bit leaky. Su Weifeng ignored him and went directly to Cao Cao's side. He checked Cao Cao and found that Cao Cao was only unbuttoned, but not hurt. Only then did Su Weifeng feel relieved. He suppressed his anger and used his true ki to help Cao Cao force out the anesthetic in his body. He pinched Cao Cao's renzang and Cao Cao woke up slowly. Cao Cao just opened her eyes widened in anxiety and saw a handkerchief covering Su Weifeng's mouth and nose accurately. She had a deep impression of this thing, which made her faint, but it was too late to remind Brother Su. But Brother Su smiled at her and showed a reassuring look, so Cao Cao was relieved. Brother Su said it was okay, so it must be okay. "Boy, you dare to hit Boss Huang and kick my door. Humph, you will be in trouble soon." The fat monk snorted coldly. He knew that it would not take long for this kid to fall down. The dosage of this anesthetic would knock down a cow here, and he was still very confident about this. Boss Huang also stood up at this time, covering his face and looking at Su Weifeng fiercely. He had already planned to play with his girlfriend in front of this kid and then destroy this kid. He dared to knock out his teeth. "My teeth." Su Weifeng turned around with a sneer. There was no sign of being anesthetized, especially a pair of murderous red eyes, which made the fat monk feel scared. This is not a human, this is a demon. How can a human have red eyes? Is he planning to hit the demon woman? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but tremble. Su Weifeng kicked the fat monk in the stomach, and the fat monk flew out directly, hitting the wall, shaking the room, and fell to the ground, curled up on the ground like a fat shrimp, and blood oozing from the corners of his mouth. "Ah, murder!" Boss Huang shouted loudly. He was frightened. This young man was like a devil crawling out of hell. He kicked the master and made him feel dead or alive. Especially those bloodshot eyes, looking at him like a corpse. Boss Huang seemed to see a sea of blood and corpses in those eyes. He almost died of fright. Su Weifeng's eyes were all red at this time, and the world also turned red. His heart was full of the urge to kill. He wanted to cut everyone into pieces. Su Weifeng's heart suddenly moved, and he quickly controlled the true energy to suppress the murderous intent. The blood color in his eyes gradually faded. He was actually controlled by the evil spirit just now. Fortunately, he woke up in time, otherwise he would become a killing machine in an instant. Chapter 972, Don't Know Life or Death. At this moment, a figure flashed into the room. It was Su Weifeng's master Gaozan. He also rushed here, because he felt the murderous intent here. He just forgot to tell Su Weifeng that this murderous intent also needs to be familiar with control. Otherwise when angry, it is easy to be controlled by this evil spirit and become a murderer. Xiaofeng, calm down. Control your evil spirit, the old monk shouted loudly. Brother Su Teo was also frightened by Su Weifeng's appearance. He had never seen Su Weifeng like this before, as if he was about to lose his mind. "Don't worry, I'm fine now." Su Weifeng smiled and said to the old monk and Teo, and his eyes had regained clarity at this time. The old monk only noticed the few people in the room at this time. When he looked at Teo, his brows couldn't help but frowned. This girl should be his apprentice's girlfriend. The girl was disheveled at this time. Combined with the crazy look of the apprentice just now, he had guessed roughly. The old monk narrowed his eyes and looked at the fat monk and boss Huang. His eyes revealed a strong murderous intent. His apprentice's girlfriend almost got into trouble in his territory. Judging from the girl's appearance, she should not have suffered any substantial harm. This was not bad. If something really happened, he would not be able to forgive himself. Old man, go find someone to catch this kid. This kid dared to hit me. I will kill him. The fat monk recovered a little at this time, stood up against the wall, and said viciously. The fat monk had some status here, and the old monk was just a tenant, so the fat monk did not take the old monk seriously. Fat monk, did you catch this girl? Su Weifeng winked at Cao Cao, and shouted in a deep voice. So what if it's me? Do you think you can get away today? This is not the first time I've done this. Boss Huang is rich, but he likes this. I'm doing good things to help Boss Huang. What if you know about it? I'm a master. Do you think everyone will believe you or me? The fat monk said fearlessly, with a smug look on his face. Old man, do you still want to live here? I know that you came here to avoid your enemies. As long as I leak the news that you live here, I don't need to tell you what will happen to you. The fat monk didn't know where he got the old monk's story from, and he threatened him with this. He really didn't know whether he was dead or alive. I'm from the Huang family. You will pay the price for what you did today. By then, it will be too late. Even if you send your girlfriend to my bed, I will break all your teeth one by one. The boss Huang also said viciously. I don't know if you are really stupid or pretending to be stupid. You dare to provoke me at this time. Do you really think I dare not kill you? Su Weifeng said coldly, his cold eyes swept over the two men. Kill us if you dare. If we still have a breath left, we will kill you. Of course, before we kill you, we will let you see with your own eyes how we play with your girlfriend. Ha 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 ha. Boss Huang laughed loudly. He was from the Huang family. Although the Huang family was not a top family in Lancheng, it was also well known. He believed that, since he had announced his name, this kid would not dare to touch him no matter what. Young man, you are very strong, but no matter how strong you are still a person. How can you compare with the Huang family? A word from the Huang family will shake Lancheng 3 times. I advise you to let us go. Today's matter is over. After we go out, we will go our own way. No one knows each other. It's better not to cause trouble when you go out. The fat monk said with a smile, but he didn't think so in his heart. He had planned to unite with Boss Huang to deal with this kid as soon as he left here today. He must not let him go like this. He will pay back the injuries I suffered 1,000 times. Brother Su, you must not let them go. Cao Cao gritted her teeth and said aside. Her anger had not subsided yet. In her heart, Brother Su was so strong that he was almost inhuman. With Brother Su around, any family was useless and there was no need to worry about any trouble. Su Weifeng sneered and walked towards Boss Huang, exuding an invisible murderous intent. Boss Huang suddenly felt horrified. He subconsciously felt that this person would really kill him. The fat monk has been in this temple for many years, and his perception is much stronger than that of ordinary people. His perception is even more obvious than that of Boss Huang. Although Su Weifeng was not facing him, he also felt a chill coming over him. At this time, he did not dare to be arrogant anymore, and looked at Boss Huang nervously. The old monk frowned slightly. He was too familiar with this kind of murderous aura. This disciple really wanted to kill someone. The old monk had been in the temple for so many years. Although he was not a monk, his mentality became much calmer under the influence of this atmosphere. Looking at the hateful eyes of the disciple and his girlfriend, and thinking about what the fat monk and Boss Huang had just done, the old monk's already silent heart began to beat violently. The old monk was shocked, and his whole momentum changed. In the last second, he was still a kind-hearted old man, and in the next second, he was already a tyrannical Shura. His body was full of tyrannical murderous intent. This was also the reason why he could not control the evil spirit in his body well, after he really lost it. This feeling was so wonderful, it had been a long time since I last saw it. The old monk felt refreshed. The disciples of the God and evil sect should do whatever they want, repaying kindness with kindness and revenge with hatred. This is my disciple. The old monk was relieved. Disciple, step aside and hand them over to me. I will show you the methods of my Shensha sect. The old monk grinned, as if he had turned into Shura, and walked towards Boss Huang. At this time, the old monk's face was full of madness and cruelty, and his eyes and Su Weifeng's eyes were blood red. This was the effect of the evil spirit filling his eyes. He exuded a bloody breath, like a butcher who had killed hundreds of lives. Fat monk. What's going on? This kid and this old man are master and apprentice? No wonder they are so abnormal, but they really dare to kill people. Boss Huang panicked, his heart beating violently, and his heart had only one thought. It's over. It's over. These are two lunatics. Real lunatics. Let me go. I will give you money. 100,000. 200,000. Boss Huang shouted loudly. The fat monk's heart skipped a beat. Even Boss Huang was scared. How could he not be scared? And Boss Huang looked like he was willing to pay for his life, but he didn't mention him at all, so he was in danger. While secretly cursing Boss Huang, he moved towards the door little by little. He thought that, as long as he ran out of here, he would be safe. As long as he got to the front, this kid and this crazy old man would dare to kill people in public. The fat monk moved towards the door quietly. When he got there, he was ecstatic that they didn't notice him, so he turned around and wanted to run out. Chapter 973 Retribution is coming. Brother Su. Tao Tao found the fat monk at the door and shouted hurriedly. As soon as Tao Tao finished speaking, Su Weifeng threw his hand in the direction of the fat monk, and the fat monk fell down in front of the door with a cry. He was only one step away from going out. This step was between heaven and hell. Don't kill me, don't kill me. The fat monk screamed madly. Master, you don't have to do it, just leave it to me. Su Weifeng said to the old monk with a smile. He knew that the old monk was also doing it for his own good. After all, the domestic laws are strict, and killing is a serious crime. If you kill someone, you may have to flee. His master wants to take this responsibility for him. Disciple, it's not like before. I can't watch you hide like me. Anyway, I'm used to fleeing. I'm just changing places. The old monk said anxiously. Master, who said I want to kill people? Su Weifeng said with a smile. Ah, you want to let them go? The old monk frowned slightly. Although he didn't want his apprentice to flee everywhere with the crime of murder, if he was so afraid of power, he would not be a disciple of the God of Demon sect. How is it possible, Master? Just watch. Su Weifeng said with a smile, and then continued to walk towards Boss Huang. Although the old monk didn't understand why, he still believed in his apprentice, so he didn't make a move, and watched how his apprentice dealt with the two men. Don't come over. Don't come over. Boss Huang's speech was already unclear, and he retreated in fear. After a few steps, he retreated to the wall, and couldn't retreat anymore. Su Weifeng stepped in front of Boss Huang, and kicked him on the calf. With a crisp sound, Boss Huang fell to the ground wailing like a pig being slaughtered. Su Weifeng's movements did not stop. He stomped 4 times like flowing water, directly breaking Boss Huang's 5 limbs. Boss Huang fainted directly from the pain. This kind of pain is not something that ordinary people can endure. The fat monk watched the whole process very clearly. There was suddenly a pool of water under his body. He was frightened to the point of peeing. The broken limbs were already very brutal, and it made his scalp numb. The last kick frightened him so much that he collapsed. With this force, there was no possibility of treatment. The rest of his life was completely ruined. Boss Huang was the last eunuch in China, and he was likely to be the second. The fat monk now had only one thought in his mind, which was to escape from here, to escape from the clutches of this demon. Unfortunately, his body could not move at all. He was already trembling with fear, and did not obey the command. Tao Tao was shouting excitedly on the side, and the blood in his body was boiling, as if she had just done it. The old monk was also stunned to look at his apprentice's girlfriend. This was not an ordinary girl. An ordinary girl would be scared to death, or at least cover her eyes and scream. This girl was good, excited and eager to try. She really deserved to be the girlfriend of my disciple of the God of Demons. The old monk sighed in his heart. Su Weifeng came to the fat monk again in a few steps. Just like before, He kicked the fat monk a few times and made him faint. He dragged him to the side of Boss Huang with a sneer. Teo is in your hands, Su Weifeng said with a smile. Don't worry, I'm a professional at this. Teo made an okay gesture and said proudly. After Teo finished speaking, he picked up his mobile phone and started to operate it. Su Weifeng was not idle either. He picked up the fat monk's handkerchief and found the anesthetic in the warehouse. He gave the fat monk and Boss Huang a few sips. To be on the safe side, he poked them on the head with a silver needle, completely destroying their memory area. When the two men woke up, they had amnesia at the least and dementia at the worst. Master, Teo, let's go back. Su Weifeng greeted the two with a smile. Tao didn't think anything of these. The old monk's eyes changed when he looked at Su Weifeng. He originally thought that his apprentice was just an ordinary soldier, but no matter his murderous aura just now, or the means of dealing with the enemy, he was so decisive and ruthless. How could he be an ordinary soldier? But this is good. It seems that there is hope for the revitalization of our Shensha sect. The old monk became more and more excited. Back to the old monk's Zen room, the three sat down at the stone table again. At this time, Tao's side was finally finished. He proudly threw his mobile phone on the table and drank tea leisurely. How come this master, Brother Su, is your master? Are you also a monk? Tao suddenly said nervously. She thought in her heart, what if Brother Su is really a monk? I also have a fate with the master. I just worshipped him as a disciple. And the master is not a monk in this temple. He lives in seclusion here. Su Weifeng explained with a smile. So that's how it is. Master, have some tea. Tao was immediately happy and hurried to pour tea for the old monk. This was the master that Brother Su had just worshipped. Other girlfriends hadn't seen him yet, but I was the first one. He was happy just thinking about it. Haha, the little girl is really sensible, pretty, and courageous. She is really as good as a man. You must treat her well, my disciple. The old monk said with a smile, and he returned to the appearance of a kind old man. Brother Su, you have to listen to the master. Tao said with a smile. You better leave quickly. Even if they have lost their memory, their family members will definitely investigate. Besides, you just hit them hard. If they die, the police will come. You should leave quickly. I will take care of it if anything happens. The old monk suddenly said worriedly. Haha, master, don't worry. Tao has already taken care of it. No one will be in trouble. It's just them who are in trouble. Su Weifeng said with a smile. Master, don't worry. I have posted the story of these two people on the internet and found a lot of surveillance videos as evidence, including recordings of their phone calls. They are not just involved in asterisk, but also involve human lives. This time, even if they don't die, they will have to spend the rest of their lives in prison. As for our master, don't worry. I have deleted all the surveillance videos involving us and forged evidence of alibis. Even if we are investigated again, we will be fine. Tao said very proudly. She was very satisfied with her efficiency. At the same time, looking at the comments on the internet, she knew that these two people were not well. Now there are netizens who are hunting these two people. Some people have recognized this place and rushed here. I don't know whether these angry netizens will arrive first or the police will arrive first. Although the old monk didn't quite understand what Tao did, he also understood the general idea. He was more satisfied with this girl in his heart. Not only was she brave, but her methods were stronger than men. His apprentice had such a girlfriend who would definitely help him revitalize the Shensha sect. Less than an hour later, there was a noisy sound outside, all heading towards the warehouse at the back. There were angry curses and the sound of police maintaining order. The whole temple was in chaos. Chapter 974 Master's Suit. Let's go and have a look too. Tao said excitedly. She was a person who liked to watch the excitement and was not afraid of trouble. However, she was stopped by Su Weifeng. In his eyes, those two people were already dead. There was nothing to see, and the master did not seem interested. Tao behaved very well in front of the old monk and was very sensible. The old monk was also very satisfied with this girl and praised her endlessly. Master, don't live in this temple. Come to my place. Su Weifeng suddenly said. He had just thought about this. Since he had become a disciple, he had to respect the master and could not let the master live in such a place. Yangcheng was his territory and it was safe there. No need. You are a soldier and don't have much money. I won't go to your place. It's also good to have free food and accommodation here, the old monk said. He was afraid that he would add burden to his apprentice. Master, don't worry. The last thing Brother Su lacks is money, Tao Tao said with a smile. Yes, master. I will buy you another house in Yangcheng. If you like quietness, I will buy you a place with mountains and water. If you like prosperity, I will buy you a house in the city center. Su Weifeng also said with a smile. How much does that cost? Disciple, don't try to make me happy. A house in the city center must cost several million. The old monk has not left the temple for many years. He is not very familiar with the market outside, but he also knows that the housing prices are very expensive now. Master, a house in the city center costs several million. They are all tens of millions. But don't worry, Brother Su can buy 10 or 8 houses with his daily income, Tao Tao said proudly. She was still very conservative. With Brother Su's speed of making money, the money came faster than a printing press. Each previous sum was hundreds of millions, and sometimes it was billions. The old monk was stunned. He thought his disciple was a poor soldier, but he didn't expect him to be a rich man, and a super rich man. He could buy 10 houses worth tens of millions a day. He really misjudged him. Okay, since my disciple is a local tyrant, then I will go and fight the local tyrant, but the disciple can't not give me food, the old monk said with a smile. Master, you go with us today. Go to our hotel first. We will go to an auction tomorrow night, and then we will go back to Yangcheng together. Su Weifeng thought about it and said that, since he was going to take the master to Yangcheng, he would take him to the auction together. Okay, I'm also an idle person here. I'll go say hello to the people here, and then we'll go. The old monk got up and went out. He was very fast and came back in less than 10 minutes. The old monk didn't have any clothes to salute, just one person. The 3 of them left the temple and came to the foot of the mountain. They got on Su Weifeng's car and drove towards the city. In the car, the old monk was also amazed at Su Weifeng's car. He had ridden in many cars, but he had never ridden in such a good one. He was indeed a local tyrant. This disciple directly changed his fate. Su Weifeng took the old monk and Tao Tao and did not return to the hotel first, but found a shopping mall. The master was no longer in the temple, and he could not always wear a monk's robe. He had to buy him a set of clothes. Master, what kind of clothes do you like? Su Weifeng asked. I haven't worn a suit yet. Let's take a look at suits. The old monk thought for a while and said that he used to practice martial arts and fight. How could he have such a leisurely time? This was also thanks to the injury and loss of true energy. Otherwise, he would still be fighting for the honor of the gods and demons. He saw others wearing suits before, and he wanted to try it himself. Haha, master must be handsome in a suit, Tao Tao said with a smile, but there was already a picture in his mind, the image of a bald gangster. Thinking about it, his eyes were smiling into a slit. Su Weifeng gently rubbed Tao Tao's head. Looking at her smirk, she must be thinking of something bad. There is a store here. The old monk's eyes suddenly lit up and pointed to a Yinli store. The 3 walked into the store. There were no customers in the store at this time. There was only one salesperson who was listless and almost dozed off. The sound of 3 people entering the store immediately attracted the attention of the salesperson, who came over in his 30s. I want to see what kind of clothes you want to see, the salesperson said indifferently. She didn't even notice these people. Su Weifeng and Tao Tao were both dressed casually and didn't care about those brands. One of them was a super rich man, and the other was a top hacker. Money was nothing to them. Clothes that matched their status were definitely not luxury goods in the eyes of ordinary people. And there was also an old monk, still wearing a monk's robe. Such a weird combination came to such a high-end men's clothing store. The waiter didn't think they could buy anything. I want to see suits, the old monk said with a smile, still looking kind. Monks still wear suits. There are really all kinds of weird things in this world. At this time, a young man and woman walked into the store. The man wore gold-rimmed glasses and held a briefcase, and the woman wore a high-end dress and sunglasses. She thought she was very fashionable, and the one who spoke was the man with gold-rimmed glasses. "Honey, this must be a fake monk who is swindling people," the woman said with a smile, her eyes full of contempt. Although the salesperson didn't say anything, he looked gloating, waiting to watch the fun. "Who do you say is a fake monk? I see you are wearing fake brand names. Is the flesh on your body also fake?" Cao Cao was furious when he saw that Brother Su's master was being laughed at. He sneered and stared at the woman's chest. You. The woman was so angry that she trembled. The key point was that Cao Cao was right. The chest was really fake. She was immediately angry when she was exposed in front of her. "Honey, she scolded me." The woman pulled the arm of the man with glasses and said angrily. At this time, the man with glasses was staring at Cao Cao, but he was not angry because Cao Cao scolded his girlfriend, but because he was fascinated by Cao Cao's beautiful appearance. If his girlfriend was not by his side, he would drool. When he saw his girlfriend calling him, he quickly came to his senses, and the lecherous expression on his face disappeared, and he immediately became serious. "Baby, don't be angry. We are people of status and we won't argue with them." The man with glasses coaxed his girlfriend, and his eyes swept from Su Weifeng and Cao Cao from time to time. He cursed in his heart. What kind of shit luck did this ordinary boy have to find such a beautiful lolly as a girlfriend? Although his girlfriend looks okay, she is simply the difference between red flowers and green leaves compared to this little lolly. If his girlfriend was not by his side, he really wanted to go up and chat with her. As a successful person like him, he is still very attractive to such a little girl. Chapter 975, Being Despised. He was confident that, as long as he could show his strength, it would be okay to have a one-night stand with this little Lolita. He secretly thought it was a pity that he had to go out with his girlfriend today. The woman snorted coldly. She thought that she was a person of status, so how could she be on the same level with people like them? Arguing would lower her status. "Sir, madam, what do you want to see? I'll introduce it to you." The salesperson ignored the old monk and came directly to the man with glasses. She said enthusiastically, with a smile on her face, looking very professional, "My husband wants to buy a shirt. Do you have any activities recently?" The woman said to the waiter. "Now we can give members a 95% discount." The salesperson said with a smile. "The discount is so low." The man with glasses was also a little dissatisfied. "Husband, take a look first. If there is no suitable one, look at other stores," the woman said, obviously not satisfied with the discount. The salesperson smiled at the side and introduced this year's new models to them from time to time. "Master, what do you think of this suit?" Su Weifeng said, pointing to a black suit. This black suit was exquisitely made and was placed in the store. It should be a new model. "This suit costs more than 10,000 yuan. The old monk was shocked when he saw the tag. He had been in a sect, which was considered a hidden sect. He had no business in the secular world. Later, he came to the temple to avoid his enemies. He had no money in this life. Although he knew that his apprentice was rich, he didn't want his apprentice to buy such an expensive thing for him. "This is the latest model, made of top quality fabrics. There are only this batch. You can buy it if you want," the salesperson said indifferently. "Let's take a look at other stores. This is too expensive," the old monk said a little embarrassedly and wanted to go out. "This Yunlei is a high-end men's clothing. The master is sensible. If you can't afford it, don't look at it," the man with glasses said disdainfully. Teo wanted to get angry again, but was stopped by Su Weifeng. There was no point in arguing with such a person. "Let's try and find a suitable size for my master," Su Weifeng said to the salesperson. "You can try, but don't get it dirty. You can't afford to pay for it." The salesperson rolled her eyes and said she didn't want the monk to try it at all. It was useless to try such expensive clothes. People like them couldn't buy them at all, but she couldn't say that they couldn't try them. Otherwise it would be troublesome for the two young people to complain. "That's right. I don't know how long it has been since I took a shower. How can others wear clothes after trying them on?" The woman also said, with a look of disgust. "You are so arrogant. People like you are not even worthy of carrying shoes for my brother Su." Cao Cao said coldly. She had been angry for a long time. "Really? You are still quite arrogant. If you have the ability, buy this clothes. If you can afford it, I will kneel down to carry your shoes for you. If you can't afford it, you kneel down for me. The man with glasses said with a gloomy face. Forget it, apprentice. Let's go. The old monk's face was not good either, but he really had no money. If he was in a remote place, he would have taken action long ago, but it would not work in this shopping mall with people coming and going. HMPH, I don't like this brand either. I still like Versace. Su Weifeng snorted coldly. He didn't want to buy here. It was a waste of time to get angry with such a person. The good cabbage is taken by the pig. The beautiful woman should not follow him. It's a waste to follow such a pig. I will introduce you to a high-class one later. It's 10,000 times better than him. The man with glasses said to Tao Tao with a sly smile. He saw that the boy was so weak and didn't dare to say anything, even though he was insulting him. He was thinking of poaching again. You are the pig. You are worse than a pig. If you are a pig, you are a garbage pig. Tao Tao shouted angrily. He could scold anyone except Brother Su. Little bitch, you want to die. The man with glasses couldn't stand Tao Tao's scolding. He was furious and didn't care that it was a beautiful woman. You mean you will kneel down if I buy this dress, right? Su Weifeng suddenly laughed. So what? The man with glasses looked at Su Weifeng with disdain. Husband, this kid is not crazy. He spent all his savings on this dress. The woman said hurriedly. Yes, you can't buy just one. You have to buy a set. Who wears a suit alone? You have to wear a shirt, a belt, and leather shoes. If you buy this set, I will kneel down for you. If you can't afford it, kneel down for me. The man with glasses laughed coldly, not feeling embarrassed at all about his inconsistency, and even showed a proud look to his girlfriend. Salesman, pack up all the clothes in your store for me. Su Weifeng said coldly to the salesman. Ha ha ha, I'm laughing to death. This man is crazy. At this time, several people had come into the store to watch the fun. After all, this is a common hobby. Absolutely. +1. Boy, are you stupid? You bought all the clothes. Do you know how much the clothes in this store are worth? Tens of millions, and you packed them all for you. Are you kidding me? The salesman was unhappy and pointed at Su Weifeng. Ha ha ha, husband, you are still a lunatic after all this time. The woman said. It's no use pretending to be crazy. I will make the lunatic kneel down today. The man with glasses said viciously. At this time, a man walked out of the office, looking like he had just woken up. What's going on? What happened? The man said to the salesperson. He was the manager who was patrolling the store. No one was in the office just now and he slept. Manager, these two people made a bet. This kid and the monk don't like Ayan Lele and want to buy all the clothes in our store. The salesperson said disdainfully. The manager also frowned. He didn't believe that this young man could buy all the clothes here. Even if he was a rich man, he wouldn't spend tens of millions to earn face. This is not something a businessman can do. Businessmen should always put profit first. But the manager is knowledgeable and cautious after all. Even if he doesn't believe it in his heart, his tone is still very polite. Sir, you can buy all the clothes, but after all, there are too many clothes. If you want to buy, you have to pay first, before you can pack them. Please understand. The manager said politely. No problem, calculate how much it is. Su Weifeng said indifferently. Go and calculate how much it is. The manager was unhappy. He thought he was being polite enough, so he should just quit while he was ahead. But the young man didn't want to take it, so he had to say to the salesperson. Okay. The salesperson gritted his teeth and said, isn't this asking for trouble? Even using a computer to calculate is a lot of work. Ha ha ha, kid, you won't give up until the last moment. I wonder how long you can keep pretending. The man with glasses sneered. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.